Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 19 of 3 in the Keystone. I'm Adam Seltzer here tonight with the boys again, Al Ryan and Chris Guest. And tonight is our first YouTube episode. So say what's going on to all those out there watching us now. Thanks, guys.
I guess look, we're a little shell shocked being on video. We don't know what to say.
We're a little spoofed by the camera.
Usually Chris goes first, so I was waiting for him.
It's hard because, I mean, usually when you guys talk, I usually put my head down and text my friends, but now I got to look like I'm paying attention to everything you guys are saying.
Anybody I would text is in this room anyway.
That's true. On tonight's episode, originally, I think we were trying to, we've had so much local feel with the Phillies run, try and get more to the national stage for our opening main segment. But Sunday and Monday night, there's been some interesting stuff in Philadelphia sports. So we're going to have to start there. And I'll throw it to Chris. Chris, you want to go Sunday, Joel Embiid, or you want to go Monday night, Eagles loss?
Well, in the interest of timeliness, let's go with last night. Let's go with the Eagles first.
All right, let's go with the Eagles first. So the Eagles fall to 8-1 with a loss to the Washington Commanders that I can't say anybody really saw coming. Chris, you're our Eagles guru. Why don't you jump right into what you saw and what happened last night?
So my mind is still very much scrambled from watching that game. The thoughts I have. Actually, before I go, can you guys hear me okay? My dehumidifier just came on. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me all right? Listen, hey, I got a basement with a finished basement. I got a dehumidifier. What do you want me to do?
We're not editing any of that out.
No. This is hood. We keep
Chris has his smoke. Chris bought a smoke machine for our video debut.
But seriously, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So I would say, first off, I'm just going off the top of the dome, just what I'm thinking about. I heard a lot of flack this morning on the radio, and what is that?
What's that?
Can anybody hear that?
Yeah.
Hey man, that wasn't my intent, but I want to stay in balance, gonna keep the clock rolling, and yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what just happened. There was a commercial on one of these sites I had up. So
this is a disaster.
Can you hear me all right?
There's a lot of pressure. We haven't had any issues for 19 episodes.
Don't cut none of it
on video. It's a disaster.
Don't cut none of it. So I heard a lot of flack about Darius Slay. I think that's garbage. Darius Slay, did he have a best game? No. But it was not because he just got burnt all night. If you look and you know football and you watch the game, all right, he was in a lot of situations where not just he, but the defense was in the zone protection, zone coverage. And the zone last night, as it does often when they play zone, it sucked. They have guys, Bradbury and Slay both especially, who work best and thrive the best when they're in when they play man to man. They're good man cover corners. And when you put them in zone, it doesn't maximize their efficiency. So that was a big part of why McLaren was wide open a lot last night. If you go back and look at the game again, or if you look at the replays of different big plays, that was a big part of it. The other part of it was the run defense, which I mentioned last week regarding the Eagles' Achilles heel was run defense. And somebody on the Commanders was listening to that show last week because that's all they did was run the ball down the Eagles' throat. With Jordan Davis not available, not in the game because of injury, it is a huge hole for the Eagles. And for those people who also don't know football and say, Jordan Davis wasn't really doing anything when he was in anyway, just because he's not getting sacks doesn't mean he's not doing anything. He was stuffing the middle of the field on run plays big time, and it shows. All right, because now that he's not there, teams are running down our throat. And guess what? We got coming Jonathan Taylor. We got Aaron Jones. We got A.J. Dillon. We got Derrick Henry. We got some big boys coming up that are going to be testing that line in the next few weeks. So they better get it together. But overall, it was the dumbest Eagles game I've ever seen. And I say that as far as an IQ is concerned. There were so many stupid things that team did. It looked like they were literally trying to lose the game. It was very strange. The referee situation, that was it's easy to blame the refs for that game. The refs didn't lose that game for the Eagles. The refs didn't cause Dallas Goedert to fumble the football when he was getting his face mask. The refs didn't cause Quez Watkins to get up and fall down and fumble the ball wide open on a huge play. That pass was a perfect textbook deep ball that Hurts threw that kid, and he just messed that whole play up and the whole mojo of the game. Also, why I mentioned previously on a previous show, Odell Beckham should be considered for this team. I don't know what all the love is about with Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins for me does nothing. He runs around. He's very fast. He's got great speed. I get that. But look what happened last night. We utilized that speed. We finally utilized it, and that's what happened. That's what we got out of it. A team with Super Bowl aspirations needs to do better than Quez Watkins as their slot receiver. Bottom line. No disrespect to him, but they need to do better than that.
Real fans of the game, though, Chris, know that. They know that Quez Watkins isn't out there to do anything other than, run some routes and catch maybe one or two balls a game.
And they utilize him. They try to do some type of end arounds and fancy plays at the line of scrimmage to kind of throw defenses off guard. That's all gadget stuff. He's a gadget kind of player. And if that's what he's going to be and that's what he's good for, fine. That's his niche, fine. But I'm looking for a slot receiver that can get down the field and catch passes.
Where was AJ Brown? Did he? I mean, I know he was out for a few plays. Do we think that he was? I mean, he was probably hurting, right?
I was going to say. So what I noticed with AJ Brown was, ever since he got hurt initially in the game, they taped his foot up. He came back in. He had a clear, severely wrapped foot in that game. I don't think he was healthy in the game. I think that a lot of plays they ran him as decoy. A lot of plays they ran him as a blocker. I don't think he was healthy once he got back in the game. I think he was out there at that point more to just keep the defense honest. Which I guess in a way it did. I mean, that probably was a big reason why we had some of the big plays that we had, the few of them that we had. Obviously he didn't have any of them because he only had one catch, I think, for 7 yards. So he did the decoy factor did work for certain plays, but I just hope at this point he is healthy for the future going forward. He did have a good point though after the game. He said, like, teams get punched in the mouth. This is what happened. We got punched in the mouth. How do we respond to it? And that we're going to find out now a lot about the Eagles. I think that when you have a game like this, how do you respond? Great teams respond big time. And
he said he said he was happy. He said he was happy that all this. I'm not going
to
said, but all this undefeated, can now be put to rest.
Absolutely. The pressure's off now, in terms of the undefeated situation. And look, we're Philadelphians. Like, let's keep it real. We knew they weren't going to go undefeated. I was hoping maybe I'd be wrong for once, and they were just really that good, and like we were just all going to be shocked that we had a team that was that special in our backyard. But our Philadelphia pedigree tells us odds were that.
I don't think the players were ever feeling that pressure though. That's unrealistic.
Not yet.
Not in week 10.
It was still early for the players, I would think maybe too, to have that pressure on them. But who knows? Independently amongst themselves, who knows what pressure they put on themselves. But I think that the Colts, if the Eagles respond the way I think, and I hope they do, the Colts are going to be sitting ducks next week. But that situation does scare me with the running back. He got a little bit hot at the end of their game this past week, and I'm hoping that we can figure out what we got to figure out to keep the run in check. But that's a big Achilles heel for me. And also losing Goddard now. I mentioned that on the previous show too. Al, I think it was you who gave me a little bit of flack for that B+ for the tight end grade. Here we go. Now this is what I was talking about. What's the depth behind Dallas Goedert at tight end? We'll find out.
Yeah, we will. You're right.
So look, there are ebbs and flows that come with every single season. And again, I think it was a little false hope, the undefeated streak. People looked at the schedule and, their eyes lit up at, maybe this is something special. But at the end of the day, teams are going to have, hot streaks and they're going to have cold streaks. And to be honest, the Eagles are in a cold streak. Like, you could say that, last night's game was an aberration. They didn't play well against the Texans. No. They didn't play well in that game either. So you know what? And like last year, you look at Buffalo, who's one of the best teams in the league. You know, they dropped 2 out of 3 in the middle of the season. They had a 9-6 loss to Jacksonville. Like, you're just going to go through stretches where you don't play great football, and the Eagles may be in one now.
Well, also the bottom line too is, I know in Philly, we always think for all our sports teams, you lose one game, the sky's falling.
Right.
And the bottom line is there are concerns, but at the end of the day, the Eagles are still 8-1. They're still the best team at least on paper right now in the NFC. They're still the best team record-wise in the NFL. So I would pump the brakes on all of a sudden jumping off the bandwagon for people and saying that they are flawed and they're this and they're that. Everybody's flawed, first of all. Everybody's flawed, especially this year. So we still have we still have a really good team. Time will tell if they're truly great or not. Still a really good team. We'll see how they bounce back. Do they have things that we're concerned about? Yes. Does it mean that they're going to all of a sudden tank and go into a downward spiral? I don't think so.
You didn't mention, I thought one of the biggest issues with the game was I thought Sirianni coached an awful game.
Terrible game.
Miles Sanders had 2 rushes at halftime?
Terrible game. I didn't understand the game plan on either side of the ball at all. That's a great point. They did not run the ball. They got into one of those situations again like they did last year where Sirianni got pass happy. And I think what he was trying to do was throw Washington off guard because everybody in the league knows the Eagles love to run the ball. And I think in that spot, he was trying to throw them a curveball and come out pass happy, but we just didn't have it. And the next thing you know, 3 and out. That time possession gap was one of the biggest I'd ever seen in an NFL game.
What did it end up being?
2-1. It was 2-1. It was 40 minutes to 19 and a half minutes.
At one point, it was 30-7.
Washington ran the ball 49 times. And I'll say this, they only ran it at like 3.7 yards a pop, but it just seemed like every run was 3.5 yards. It wasn't like they were breaking off big ones and then getting stuffed. It was like 3 yards, 4 yards, and then they were in 3rd and 3 and they just converted.
They do whatever they wanted.
They stuck with it. Listen to the first touchdown drive of the game for Washington. It's run, incompletion, run, short pass, run for a touchdown. That's the first touchdown drive for Washington last night.
And that was when they were down 7-0. There was no panic.
Right.
They went down 7-0 quick because
they held to their game plan.
The Eagles caught a break on that with the roughing the punter penalty, and they end up getting a fumble on the next play.
Yep.
Well, that's the other thing too.
Even if you look at the next couple of drives, I'm not going to go through them, but it's the same thing. Run. And like you said, they only average about 3.5 yards per carry on the ground. But I think, Chris, I want to go back. I was talking about
let me jump in. One more thing about Sirianni. Sure. I didn't understand the second half. He's got a 3rd down. Washington commits a penalty, and I think they have an incomplete pass. And it's a 55-yard kick, and he declines the penalty.
Yeah.
And Washington ends up making the field goal to make it 26-21 instead of 23-21. When he could have moved them back 5, I think it was only 5 yards, so you don't know what's going to happen because it's 3rd down again. It's 3rd and long. But I think at that point in the game, that field goal is important because the field goal then gives you the lead if you're able to hold them. Listen, I don't understand the declining of that penalty either. In that
the defensive call right after that, they were playing soft. I mean, they gave them 8-9 yards, which put them in even closer.
Yeah, I think as a coach, it's hard to take a 4th down off the board, and I think that's what he was thinking about when he had it was still 4th and long still too. So I think
it was 3rd.
I'm saying the penalty was on 3rd.
Oh, we would be talking about a different play then.
Yeah, we're talking about
the penalty was on 3rd, and it made it. It would have made it 3rd and I think 23. I think right.
No, I think it was less than that. I think it would have been 3rd and like 17.
And it ended up being it was still like 4th and whatever 10 or
12.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I think that listen, on a cold night at that stadium, 55-yard field goal or 58-yard field goal, whatever it was, is tough. And that dude made 2 of them.
No doubt.
Like, tip your cap to I'll be honest.
Say his name, Joey Sly.
Right. It's easy to say now in hindsight that should have been an accepted penalty. I don't know, to be brutally honest with you. I don't know if I did this. I probably would have did the same thing that Sirianni did, honestly, in that situation.
I mean, it's easy. You said it's easy to say in retrospect. Again, 55-yard field goal is a long kick, but obviously comes back to hurt them in the end.
One thing too on special teams before we get to Al's point, my man Covey, like, bro, what is the what does he do in practice? Or I've been saying this guy needs to go after week 3. I didn't understand this whole time what this dude's about. He doesn't do even on kickoffs when they return it. He might get to the 20. He never returns like punts anywhere further than 2, 3, 4 yards. He's got great sure hands as a punt returner, so fair catches, he does a great job. Other than that, he's not really a threat a little bit.
He's on every gunner's highlight reel because he finds a way to run right into a tackle every single time. The gunner literally makes the greatest form tackles I've ever seen in my life on special teams plays.
Well, he weighs 150 pounds. The guy, like, literally, you flick him in the NFL and he falls down. He's so small.
I get that, but it's just crazy. It seems like the guys that get to him like hit him solid, like he makes no move whatsoever.
It's like he doesn't know how to defend himself
and runs right into the tackler.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he doesn't know how to defend himself or run aggressively into a runner. That or he just can't because he's too small to do it. But I don't understand why he's still on this team. And 2 of the last 3, last week and the week before that, they did in the second quarter they had a punt return where they let Devontae return it. And then they stopped it. And I don't want him to be returning punts. But my question is, what the hell was the point of that? What was the point of even seeing him do those 2 in those second quarters, back-to-back games? Not this past game, the one before that, the Houston game, and the one before that. I don't understand that. That doesn't tell me doesn't give me any kind of hint that they have faith in Covey as it is from doing something like that. And then they just kind of still roll with him, and he doesn't do anything for him.
Yeah, I just feel like punt returns and kick returns have kind of just died in the NFL. Like,
well, I disagree. I think kick returns, yes. Punt returns are still absolutely a part of the game.
But don't you feel like we used to see so many more punt returns for touchdowns when we were, in early 2000s?
We lived through the heyday of punt returners, though, with
Dante
Hall and Devin Hester.
Yeah.
I mean, we're never going to see that golden age again.
I think that the statisticians and the metrics guys are going to make sure we don't do that because they probably think there's some kind of equation somewhere that says it's not valuable to risk a body returning a punt.
The other thing is the punters got a lot better. The punters got a lot more athletic. They got a lot better at placing the ball where they want. I mean, these punters are out of control the way they can pin that ball within the 5 every time.
And listen, last night that punt that Sipos had, where everybody thought he was going to be faking it and run like. That they actually got a penalty on that for a legal man downfield because obviously he wasn't supposed to do that pump fake. He was supposed to just punt it, but he saw that the blocker, the defense, the guy on defense for the Commanders was coming to block it, and that was an athletic play. Like that pump fake punt to run down the sideline and open enough space and kick it 40 yards, and like that was kind of dope. Honestly, I was like, yo, we got a penalty on that because the linemen are obviously not thinking he's going to do that, but like. That was a smart play because if you don't do that, it would have been a touchdown right then for Washington as it was.
I have one point, but I know, Al, you had one you wanted to make before that. And I have one that's going to spark some conversation. So go ahead.
I just was going to say, I was kind of talking about smart fans. And I think the smart fans knew that the whole talking about an undefeated season, we were doing it prematurely. We were having fun with it. It
was very much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not in this position very often. So talking about the undefeated season, I think was obviously a pipe dream on our part. But I will say that, the Pittsburgh Steelers team 2 years ago, that was, what were they, like 10-0? Some crazy
11-0.
Right?
Yeah, 11-0.
We're better than that team.
Yeah, for sure.
We're better than that team. No doubt about it. But I think there were some cracks that we started to see in the last few weeks. And last night was a full exposure of it. I did hear one quote by the kid that ended up picking off that one ball that Hurts threw. And he said that our coach told us before the game, he said, Jalen likes to throw a lot of 50-50 balls up. Just put yourself in a good spot and make a play. And I think that's true. And I think he's been getting away with it because AJ Brown has been making some spectacular catches and bailing him out of some of those throws. He's still not the greatest decision maker. And so far, everything has worked out. It's almost like Rob Thompson with some of the decisions he was making in the playoff run. But last night, I saw some throws out of Jalen Hurts that I hated. He missed some wide open throws and he made some questionable throws. And I think it finally caught up to him where is a little bit of that defenses and teams, the tape is out. They're starting to see his tendencies. They're starting to read his movements, and they're starting to get a little bit of a feel for what Hurts is going to be giving them. I mean, I'm a little concerned in that sense.
So
See,
let
and
me
that,
jump
and
in because
that's
this is a segue to my point.
okay.
And I know this is going to spark conversation. Anybody out there who has Jalen Hurts MVP tickets, you can rip him up. He's not winning MVP. He's not.
Well, this is why I'm pissed at Quez Watkins, because if he makes that catch and scores that touchdown, we're not having this conversation. The Eagles probably win the game. Hurts is going to have a dynamite touchdown pass and a comeback win on his resume, and we're not talking about this. And I think
I'm not knocking Jalen Hurts. I'm just saying he's not MVP.
Well, but if you're not, well, hold on. If you're not knocking him and you're saying he's not MVP, then what did he do to all of a sudden make you not the MVP?
Because I looked at the numbers this morning. Let me throw some numbers at you. 13th in the NFL in passing yards, 11th in passing touchdowns. I'll give you, he's got 7 rushing touchdowns, which adds to his resume. He hasn't run for more than 30 yards in the last 4 games. He hasn't thrown for more than 250 yards. He's only done that once in his last 6 games. I understand the team's been good, but for me, it's more of a team's. Patrick Mahomes has 700 more passing yards, 11 more passing touchdowns, plays in the tougher conference, and 2 is above him, in my opinion. 2 is 7-0 as a starter and has better numbers, and he's missed 3 games.
What's been helping the Eagles a lot, too, is the turnover battle, and that's such a volatile stat. I mean, that can go south in a moment's notice, and it did last night.
I can understand. I don't disagree with you with Tua getting into the conversation. I will say though, and it's the Pat Mahomes talk, and before the season started, I had Mahomes. I believe I said Mahomes was MVP, and I was big on the Chiefs this year and the whole thing. But you say he's playing a tougher you said a tougher conference, but if you go by which is a stat that I know you love, the strength of schedule, the Chiefs are not close to the Eagles.
Here we go.
They're not close. So who was he really passing against? Now, I will say this in support of what you're saying. I don't know if it's Jalen Hurts' fault. I think it's more the coach's fault on both sides, because of the fact that it's scaring me that there's something to be said that we can't score points in the second half of games, and it's starting to freak me out. I will say that's the one thing that for me long term is an issue, a legit issue, and a legit fear, because that's telling me that coaches are putting in the tape and making adjustments at the half, and we are unable to make the adjustment to the adjustment. That's what's messing with me and scaring me a lot about this team.
I just think this team, yeah. I mean, look, this team is still the class of the NFC. I don't want anybody to get us wrong here. They're still the best team in the NFC. I don't think the gap is as wide as it was made out to be at some points because of our undefeated record. And I think that as far as, I mean, if you want to talk about MVP, like I don't care if Jalen Hurts wins the MVP or not, right? Win football games, win a ring. But I do see Adam's point. I do also think that Jalen Hurts gets much more help on all sides of the ball and in all aspects of the game than Patrick Mahomes does. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't have really a running game. I know they have that Pacheco kid. How do you say his name?
Pacheco,
yeah. Right? But I mean, like, other than that, it's the Mahomes show in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the same for Philadelphia. I wouldn't say it's the Hurts show. Hurts, a lot of his numbers too, like people throw around his rushing TD numbers. That's because he has all those Jerome Bettis touchdowns at the 1 yard line where everybody just pushes him into the end zone.
Right.
So
that's the Justin Fields types runs for the most part.
Right.
Again though, the AJ Brown, the interception he threw. I went back.
It was in AJ's hands.
It was in his hands, and it literally just went through the dude's hands, and the commander player just was like, "Oh wait, the ball's here," and he took it. And credit to him. All right, he had the good ball skills to recognize where the ball was, the whole thing. But it wasn't a bad pass.
No, it wasn't a bad pass.
I'm not saying that.
But to Al's point, you throw enough of those balls up in traffic, eventually there's going to be one that bounces the wrong way. Like it's just going to happen. And it wasn't a bad throw.
To this point, only good results, good things happen with those throws, and this was just a bad result. It was just a bad like bad luck. It's almost like I mean, you guys both played Madden when you were kids. You know when you used to play Madden back in the day before you could play people online and you had to actually play the computer. And you know how there was that one game every year and the computer was just like, nah, man, I'm winning this game. And like you would throw a pass and it'd get picked and you'd run a ball and you would fumble it and you just lost the game. Like that almost in the fourth quarter, especially, that's what this felt like.
Hey, I'm OG, dog. I still play the computer. I still got franchise mode, fam.
So
Chris
Not
needs
Madden,
some
though,
internet.
but-
Chris needs some internet friends. To our listeners out there, send him your gamer tag.
but he still has the dial-up modem, I think.
I'll
It's
see you
tough
on
to
the
get online
PS
with
network.
that.
Let me know your handles.
We want to get to the Sixers still in segment 1. So I want to ask you guys the next 6 games. I'm going to run through them real quick. You tell me win or loss, okay?
Yep.
At Indy.
Yeah, you can go.
It's still a win.
It better be a win.
I think it's a sneaky game. I'll take the Colts.
I mean,
we didn't. If we lost this game, or if we won this game, I would have been more inclined to say a loss next week.
Okay.
so if they lose to the Colts in that whole situation that they've had the last couple of weeks, that's a big problem.
People
If they
love
go
Jeff
in there and lose to a
Saturday.
team that just got a coach in the middle of the week that wasn't even in the NFL anymore and was working at ESPN behind a desk. The Raiders are the Raiders. They're trash. All right.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm not surprised they lost that game. But if the Eagles go in there at 8-1 and lose to that kind of team, there's a problem. So I'm going to say they're going to win.
Okay, so after that, we have Packers at home. Where you at?
That's a win. The Packers still stink in my eyes.
I just believe that this team is going to be tough-minded and they're going to bounce back from this. But so I'm still going to say a win there.
I'm taking the Eagles too. I'm not buying the Packers. Home to Tennessee.
Win.
That's a win.
We
should be getting Davis back, right?
That's what I'm saying. I think
need
he's
him
going
for
to be
that
back
game.
around, hopefully by around that time. That would help.
I think Tennessee matches up very well with the Eagles, but I don't see the Eagles losing the Colts and the Titans game. So I would say 1-1 out of those 2 games is my opinion. But if I get to pick, I'll say they'll beat the Titans. At the Giants.
At the Giants is tough. From what we've seen, I think the Giants are, I hate to say, I think they're legit. That might be a loss now.
I think it's a loss.
I got them beating the Giants. I'm not buying the Giants. I think their Giants.
I didn't want to either, but
I think the Eagles match up well. I'm taking the Eagles.
It's a division road game. You can't get up for every game, as we saw last night. It just is what it is in this.
They've played the Giants really good the last few years. So to your point, Seltzer, they should win, but that's gonna be a tough game with all the stakes up for both teams. That's tough.
That's a kitchen sink game for the Giants too.
At the Bears.
Win.
That's a win. The Bears stink. Don't get me started on that.
As a loss.
No, you're
it's a schedule loss. It's not that the Eagles are not better than the Bears because they are, but you got at the Giants, then the Bears, and then the Cowboys, and it's that game that's in the middle there that all of a sudden slipped past.
Who hurts?
Well, listen, you guys have it different. You guys have them losing to the Giants. I think if they beat the Giants, that it's a letdown spot. That's my opinion.
Everybody on those teams we named at least has someone that could beat the Eagles. Who do the Bears have that can beat the Eagles? You think Fields is ready to beat a team like the Eagles?
Who do the Commanders have?
The Commanders at least have McLaren. At least they have a decent receiver, above average receiver.
Justin Fields balling out.
He stinks.
I can't see that.
And then after that, at Dallas on Christmas Eve.
That's a tough game too. I think that that's a game where they catch Dallas with their pants down. I think they could win that game.
I think again, I have losing to the Bears. I think they'll respond and beat the Cowboys.
I think it's a loss because I think they win out from there, and I don't see this being a 15-2 team. I think 14-3 is a good number for this team.
So you still think they'll be the number 1 seed?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I do too.
I think so too. All right, any closing thoughts before we switch gears?
Real quick, I just wanted to say, give my man Heineke some credit. Like, I know that crap at the end of the game, whatever, with the slide. Was that corny? Yeah, but was it a penalty? Yeah, absolutely. Brandon Graham is a veteran and he should know better than to do that. I think that I agree with the call. I think that at the same time, it was kind of corny that Heineke did that, but at the same time, it is what it is. But the dude can play, and he's got respect in the locker room. He's got respect of his teammates. They ride for him, and that's important. That's huge, and that's something that the guy that was playing quarterback there before him did not and does not have.
100%.
Heineke's a baller. He reminds me of a Penn State guy. He reminds me of Trace McSorley, man.
I was going to say, I knew you were going to say
He
McSorley.
is a baller, and I can't get. I know this came out a few years ago, and it came out again this year. The pictures of the quarterbacks as women. You guys saw that, right? It came out again.
I saw the Joe Burrow one.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Hey, Heineke.
I don't know what you're into, but I ain't seen nothing with that.
On that note, it's not often we do two segments in one, but I want to touch on
Back to
Sunday night. Joel Embiid, 59, 11, 8, and 7 blocks. After, on a back-to-back, the night after, he goes for 42, 10, 6, and 2 blocks. Sixers win 2 in a row for the first time this year. They moved to 7-7. Al, you said in the text today you had some major thoughts on the Sixers, but did you guys watch the game Sunday?
Yeah, I watched it all. Well, not all of it. I watched
insane performance.
Yeah.
Insane performance.
Again, another guy that watches the podcast. We were really critical last week. My man came out and responded.
I still have a lot of thoughts about Joel. And I'm not knocking him as a player. And I know somebody on Twitter, a Diversa, came at me saying that I'm anti-Embiid. I'm not anti-Embiid. What I struggle with Joel is when things are going good, he can be the best player and the most dominant player in the league. It's when things are going tough that he's quick to complain to the refs or fall on the floor or make things harder on himself than he has to, and his attitude goes south. And I need to see leadership from him in that respect. When things are going good, he's as good as it gets. Like, there's nobody that could stop him. And I mean, Utah had no bodies for him. There was nobody they could throw at him to guard him at all. I mean, it was Kelly Olynyk. It was Jared Vanderbilt.
And he's eating Olynyk for every time he plays Olynyk.
As he should.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right.
This drives me crazy because games like this make you forget what Adam was saying, right? I love Joel Embiid. I do. He's my favorite player in the league, and he has been for years, and I've been defending him for years because there's a lot of schmucks out there that say he can't be the guy. He tweets too much.
He doesn't post up enough.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
He is, in my opinion, on a game-to-game basis, he has a ceiling that no other player in the NBA can reach because of things that he did, like he did against the Jazz. But the problem with that is, even though I believe he has the highest ceiling in the league, among the elites, he has the lowest floor as well. We need his floor to be higher. Not his ceiling is his ceiling, and we know what we can get. His floor, especially in what Adam's talking about in crunch time and in the playoffs, is too low. You can't disappear from games and be whiny and be pouting and just be putting that example out there for the rest of your teammates to be seeing when it matters. And that's what he's done the last, how many years? 4 years, 5 years. So that's where I need him to get better, because we shouldn't need all-time performances from Joel Embiid also in the regular season against the Utah Jazz just to win a game. Like, that's another problem, right? We talk about how Joel Embiid just scored, what was it, 101 points in 2 games? PJ Tucker had 2 points in those 2 games. Like, we shouldn't need this to beat the Jazz and the Hawks in November. There's a huge underlying issue with this organization and that they cannot develop talent. I know I'm a little all over the place here, but we've had a lot of Charles Bassey talk. We have a lot of Paul Reed talk. We're hearing a lot of Isaiah Joe talk. And you know what? Some of it's valid, because can you guys name the last player that the 76ers drafted and actually developed into a feasible starting player, or maybe even an all-star caliber player?
Tyrese Maxey.
No. They didn't develop him. He was NBA ready.
I don't know if I agree with that.
You can't pick and choose like that.
I don't know if I agree with that.
You gotta be kidding me. You think that kid wasn't going to be talented from day one after his rookie year? You think the Sixers had a hand in that?
Yeah, but you could say that about, like, if you want to go to Toronto, it'd be like Scotty Barnes. Like, yeah, like Toronto's development system is fantastic, but like Toronto, like I agree with you. There's a player development problem, but you can't knock them for Tyrese Maxey.
Okay, so name another one, because in my opinion, Maxey had it. Maxey Joel success anywhere in the league. No, dude, these are Joel and Maxey are players that have it. I'm talking about guys that you get later on in the draft. Guys that aren't
I see you're saying like
picks.
you're saying like guys at the Spurs that they find and they just develop into
I'm
guys.
I'm talking about guys like the Isaiah Joe and the Charles Bassey, and all of a sudden everybody's mistaken for Charles Barkley and Isaiah Thomas. Like I'm talking about guys that you take later on, you develop them for 2 or 3 years, and they become a huge integral piece, like a Manu Ginobili, like a Tony Parker, like you're saying, Chris. We don't do that. It's an organizational problem. We don't do that.
That's because Doc Rivers doesn't play these guys.
Right.
I had that conversation
way
in the
before
first
Doc
podcast
Rivers.
we had.
Way before Doc Rivers.
I think the Sixers are an anomaly in the sense that somehow they found a way to be a team who drafts really well, yet can't develop players. And I think that's a real strange dynamic because it shouldn't and normally doesn't work that way. And the reason why is because, like Seltzer said, the coaching situation, Rivers has a lot of power and is able to be in a situation where he can do basically whatever he wants with that group of players. I don't know how much Morey is chiming in or Elton Brand for that matter to chime in with Rivers on those conversations. Not to say that GMs are the ones that should be picking lineups and stuff like that. I'm not saying that all necessarily, but at the same time, like, hey, we got a guy over here, player A, player B, whatever. He looks like he could be a little something. Why don't we make sure that we put him in better situations in practice or whatever to get a little bit of a better look at him so we can see if we can trust him in games. And I don't know if that really happens. And if it does, it's like, that's cute, but it's practice. Here we go in a game. And they don't let these guys play. And now it's hurting us because we need Bassey. We don't have him. We need Joe. We don't have him. And we drafted those guys and we still don't get to have the fruits of our labor shown with those players.
And here's what I've said all along, and this is, Al, you mentioned PJ Tucker, and I mentioned Montrezl Harrell as another one. And I've been a Paul Reed advocate since forever on this podcast. And I'll say first and foremost, the last 3 games he's played, he hasn't played well. Like, he has not played well at all. But PJ Tucker and Montrezl Harrell, if you need them, you can dust them off in February. You know what they are. There's no improvement coming. Like, you could be like, all right, you're back in the rotation in February, and they'll be tuned up by the playoffs. Let Paul Reed play. Let Matisse Thybulle play. Like, I'll give you a stat.
They have, and they don't do anything.
But I'll give you a stat today. The Sixers are now ranked, believe it or not, they're the 5th ranked defensive team in the NBA on defensive rating, which is great.
Because Harden's been out.
That's a good point. They're 27th in the league defensively when Matisse Thybulle's not on the floor.
Yeah, but he can't put the ball in the basket.
Right.
You can't, like, we got to have 2 guys.
But, like, give him, like, okay, I understand that. But PJ Tucker doesn't put the ball in the basket either. So why don't we let Matisse play and see if he can find something? Again, like, if it doesn't come February, if it's not working, you can put PJ Tucker back into the starting role and he's going to be fine. Like, we know what he is. There's no advanced ceiling that you're going to get from PJ Tucker.
We've had this conversation about Thybulle now for a few years where people are still saying, let him play, let him get out of his funk and all that. He doesn't have a funk.
No.
This
But
is
Adam,
who he is.
No. But this isn't about Thybulle. I get what Adam's saying. We didn't give Isaiah Joe a chance. We didn't give Bassey a chance. And there are games in the regular season, you have 82 of them, and you're making the playoffs. So there are games where, yes, you should be giving these guys burn. They should be getting 20-plus minutes a night regularly. You got to see what they have.
But we know what they have.
But this
goes now at this point, be prepared to see a 0 for their scoring column in 20 minutes.
But he's been fabulous defensively. He's been better defensively this year than he's been the last 3 years.
All right,
like,
so then
he's
hope
not gambling as much.
So then hope you can have. So if that's the case, then hope that you can have Embiid score 50 and Maxey score 30 at night.
You can get away with
having. You're not going to get a lot from 2 guys in the starting lineup every game.
They had Thybulle in the starting lineup the entire second half of last year with Harden, and they were one of the best offenses in the league. You can get away with 1 guy.
Harden's not playing.
Okay, but that's fine. Like, I understand that, but like, eventually he will be. He's only supposed to miss 3 more weeks. Like, I don't care. I don't care necessarily about wins and losses right now. I want to know who's going to be ready come playoff time to help us, because every year we get to the playoffs and it's like, holy shit, we need Paul Reed to play backup center. Oh, guess what? He hasn't played all year, but we're just going to throw him into the fire. That happened last year. Like, why couldn't he have played last year in February, in March, and given him a chance? Oh, wait, we were busy putting DeAndre Jordan on the floor. Did you see that clip of DeAndre
Oh
Jordan
God,
getting
that guy.
flustered?
I mean, I might as well be playing center at that point.
How about like Milwaukee Bucks right now are playing this guy Marjan Beauchamp?
Beauchamp was first of all, that
He
guy
was a-
Beauchamp is not just a dude. That guy was a big time prospect.
He was
coming
a
out of college.
22nd pick in the draft or somewhere in the late 20s. You
And he
think if he was
slipped a
on the
little bit,
Sixers,
yeah.
you think if he was on the Sixers, he'd be playing?
No,
Right.
Exactly. But
No.
he's playing and he's giving them minutes and he's been really good defensively. And guess what? Now all of a sudden they're like, hey, we may have an extra wing in the playoffs if we need to go to this guy.
And I think that it's simple. And the Sixers, and again, this goes back to Rivers. It's not rocket science. Like sometimes we make sports and certain sports, specifically basketball, harder than it needs to be. If you need offense, put in Harrell to back up Joel. If you need defense, put in Paul Reed to back up Joel. There doesn't need to be like, all right, well, this guy's our designated backup. This guy's doesn't. If you need scoring, put in the scorer. If you need defense, put in the defender.
But
I
like,
don't
we're
see why
not.
it's so hard.
But do you want to run offense through Montrezl Harrell? Like, is that what you?
You
like,
want to run it through Paul Reed?
No, but I'm saying like I don't know if I need offense from that spot. I'd rather have the defensive player out there all the time.
Yo, Montrez cooks, bro.
No, he doesn't.
He cooks.
No, he doesn't.
He can't stop a nosebleed, but he cooks.
We've given Furkan Korkmaz more minutes. Like, why wasn't Isaiah Joe getting those minutes at some point?
He should have been.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, we don't even try, man. And you guys keep saying throwing Doc under the bus. This is a problem that's been around long before Doc. Brett Brown didn't do it. Doug Collins, obviously, Doug Collins, Eddie Jordan, those guys.
Yeah,
I know that they were in a different position, but like I'm just saying, we don't. The last guy I think we developed was like Lou Will. And when the hell was he drafted? I don't think I was drinking yet legally when Lou Will was drafted.
Legally, he said.
I'll give
That's
Brett
right.
Brown. I'm giving Brett Brown the benefit of the doubt because Brett Brown had to play so many young and garbage players for such a long period of time that he was probably like, I need veterans. Like I
don't know. Yeah, let me get a brother get some help.
I get it. I'm just saying, organizationally, this organization doesn't develop players. They don't.
But, like,
They
I'll give you
they
another
either
guy.
draft stars or they trade for them or they sign them. That's the way Philly works.
I'll give you another, like Rashawn Holmes.
Right.
Holmes
He was
left Philadelphia and blossomed, and I know he's parked on the bench right now, but like he's a good player. And like
Jeremy Grant.
and we
Grant's
Jeremy
good.
Grant. And we needed to play Amir Johnson instead of Rashawn Holmes. Like that's what it was.
So it's an organizational flaw, and I don't know who's behind it. I know Rivers. I mean, Rivers has already been known that he's notorious for doing that anywhere he's been. So that is still a Rivers issue. However, to Al's point, I think we've just kind of run into a group of guys in a row to coach the team that have the same mindset.
Listen,
Brett-
it's also the guy's
Not-
getting a pass, and we talked about this. Daryl Morey's getting a pass. Do you know why? Why Charles Bassey's not here? Because they needed to sign Montrezl Harrell.
Right.
So
They don't sign Montrezl Harrell. Charles Bassey's still here.
So on Bassey's Twitter the other day, he had said something about, whatever his scoring line that he had and being blessed to be in a situation that he, could have a chance to play. And I'd say 9 out of 10 responses on that page were Sixers fans saying, "We loved you here. You didn't get you didn't get the right situation to play out in this situation."
Did you see he took a direct shot? He took a shot at Doc. Did you see it?
Yeah, well, rightfully so.
He said, well, why are you, playing so well here or something along those lines? And he said, well, playing for Pop is a blessing. Like he doesn't yell. He's calm at all times. He
trusts his players.
Huh?
He trusts his players.
He trusts his players.
100%. He trusts him enough to put him in it. And Pop's in a situation too. Like he knows the Spurs aren't doing anything right now. So he's trying to just find a diamond in the rough, throw out stuff, figure out what's going on out there, who he's got. And that's one of the guys that took a chance on, and he's giving them a shot to play.
Right.
It couldn't be further
from the best.
It couldn't be further from the truth, though, that people. I know this is one game, but I was at the Memphis game last year when we went to overtime, and Charles Bassey got about 10 minutes in that game and looked absolutely lost out there. And everyone around me in that section were yelling, "Who the hell is this guy?" He was awful for that 10 minutes.
But look, and I agree. Like Charles Bassey might be out of the league in 2 years. It's not a Charles Bassey thing. But to his point, and this also comes with the situation, I understand that. When you're out there playing for a guy you're relaxed and you're playing, it's so much easier than when you're out there thinking, if I make a mistake, I'm coming out of the game. Like I look at I heard this comparison earlier from somebody else. Like look at the Phillies and like Bryson Stott And like he was horrible under Girardi. And then Thompson came on board, and Thompson was probably like, "You're the shortstop. You're going to play every single day. You go 0 for 4, you're still going to be out there the next day." And all of a sudden, you start to see him build his confidence because he got familiar with playing.
Right. Pop is obviously a leader of men he's in a category that Doc Rivers could only dream to ever be in as far as a coach, as far as dealing with players, but it's also situational. Charles Bassey knows that when he's playing for the 76ers, he's playing for a team with championship aspirations. Sure. He could potentially be a guy coming off the bench in an Eastern Conference Finals or an NBA Finals. Now he's playing in San Antonio where there's no stakes. There's 100%. No chips. There's no chips on the table. He can do whatever he wants. And this league is also full of guys that all they think they need is a chance. They're all professional basketball players. They've all worked their whole lives to get here. Every single one of them has that, man, if I just get the minutes, I can cook. I can make something happen. It's not always like that, though. It's not always that cut and dry. Look, the kid's in a spot now where he's making the most of it, and good for him. But let's not act like when he was here that he was going to be the second coming of Barkley. That's because all of a sudden, that's what every Sixers fan is spewing.
Look, no, but I will say this, and I know that there's either casual fans or just people that just don't know what the situation is, which is fine. But Bassey was not just a random dude that found his way in the NBA. Bassey was at one point a lottery prospect. He got hurt at Western Kentucky, and he ended up slipping into the draft to where we ended up picking him. But this guy can play. Now, the problem with Bassey is, in my opinion, he is in the same way that Okafor was, he is a yesteryear center. If he was in the 90s, he'd be a lot better and more suited to be successful than he is now. But with that said, he still can board. He still can play a little D. And if you're under the basket, he can put the ball in the hoop. All right. He's not going to be a jump shooter. He's not going to extend the defense out. But brother can bang. If you need a banger, he could bang. And that's his role. Pop sees it, the Spurs see it, and they're utilizing him accordingly.
And the difference between Bassey and Okafor, I actually don't like the comparison at all, is Bassey can protect the rim. Like Okafor was a
well, I'm saying as far as just like his skill set top to bottom, both of them are
he's not right. He's
guys.
He's like
I'm not saying that
Mitchell Robinson. That's what he is. Like, right? Like you're not throwing him the ball to get a bucket. It's go to set a pick and run to the rim.
Right, but my point is a lot of guys back in the 90s and stuff like that, the centers, they were like flat-footed, big, heavy, thick dudes that you would put in the paint, and they'd bang with guys, get dunks, draw fouls, that kind of get boards. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying specifically that he's better or worse than Ja or whatever like that. I'm just saying, like, just as far as his style and his skill set, it reminds me more of a guy that was better in the 90s or the 80s than he does in 2022.
To wrap it up, I think our conversation has led us to one point. It's not an Isaiah Joe thing. It's not a Charles Bassey thing. It's not a Furkan Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle, Rashawn Holmes. It's a player development problem altogether. And that's exactly what we've come to. Like, these young guys do not get a chance to play when in reality, they should be playing in the regular season. Like, that's the opportunity to play these guys. And we don't do it. We'd rather play PJ Tucker 35 minutes.
I'll tell you the next guy. Jaden Springer's another one. It's going to be the same way. You watch.
And listen, with Harden out, there's a guy that needs to step up, and it's Tyrese, because he's at the point in his development where the word is out. He's not a surprise anymore, and now he's getting the top defender on the perimeter. He's getting the guy on the second team that's picking him up full court and making him work. He needs to pick it up now. If he wants to make that next leap, this is where it happens. He's seeing different looks on pick and rolls. I mean, this is happening, and he's not responding well so far. So this is the next step in his development as well. He needs to step it up.
I agree. But I think also part of that is what you said, but I also think part of it is the ball's just not going in the hoop for him right now. Like, I feel like I've seen him get to the rim and miss a layup that he's made over and over again a bunch during this 3-4 game stretch. And the ball just doesn't seem to be falling in for whatever reason. I don't worry about Maxey, but you're right. Like, he needs to step up with Harden out, because there's too much of an offensive load on Joel if he doesn't.
I want to say real quick, and I agree 100% with that. Is it me, or do either of you feel the same in the sense that I thought it was a Phillies hangover? I don't know. But now with Joel getting hot the last couple of games, it's starting to change a little bit. But I feel like Rivers is taking my love away from the Sixers. I feel like watching this team and watching him do the same things over and over again, and his demeanor on the sidelines, press conferences, the whole thing, it takes away my love and passion for that team. It makes them hard to watch because you know what you're going to get. You know the mistakes that are going to happen. You know they're not going to change. You know that you're going to see the same people doing the same things because he doesn't make adjustments. And I felt the same way earlier this year with the Phillies with Girardi. I felt like it was hard to watch the Phillies for me because I could see that they, for whatever reason, just didn't either respond to him. And I couldn't tell if it was because of him or if it because they were soft and they just couldn't get behind a manager that pushed them. I couldn't really tell at that point. Now we know what the answer is. And I'm wondering if it's the same with the Sixers. If they let Doc walk tonight and had Sam Cassell or anybody, even Dave Jerger, who I like a lot too in that staff, either one of those guys be interim coach the rest of the year, I think that would give them a spark, not only on the court, but I think the fan base too.
It would
What do you think?
definitely motivate the fan base, but I think more so, I think Doc plays a big part in it, Chris. But I think this is the first year in the last 4 that the city looks at this team and doesn't see a championship contender. I just think that, we've had those expectations for so many years, and now we're looking at this team and we're like, this team is the same thing I've seen the last 4 years, and they haven't been able to get out of the second round. So why should I expect it now?
And I think we're on the precipice of being back to square one in the sense that I think we talked about it briefly last week. You have these mercenary veterans that are trying to chase a ring and have no loyalty to really any team specifically. And I think this being a smart fan base overall recognizes that there's no connection there. There's not a natural connection with this team and the fans. It's more about Joel and Maxey. But other than that, these guys don't really, this city doesn't really connect to Daniel House. There's nothing to connect to Daniel House about. There's nothing to connect to PJ Tucker about. There's nothing to connect to, even DeAnthony Melton, who I like a lot.
He's been good.
We don't really, he's not like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
like, it's
no,
there's not a connection naturally there.
And you're not even mentioning the $500 million man, Tobias Harris, who was just impossible to root
Listen,
for.
don't even, I was trying to keep my blood pressure down and not bring him up. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a good dude. I think he seems like a nice guy, whatever like that. But he was talking about PJ Tucker earlier in the segment and what he can't do and what he doesn't do. At least he got a ring. All right. At least he was a big part of that team. Tobias, all we've been paying him $30 million for ever since he got here, and I put it in the text message to you guys the other day, is to have weak hands in the clutch moments in the fourth quarter, forget how to shoot anything in the fourth quarter, and basically when it's time to need a second fiddle, he could have been the Robin the other night when Maxey's getting defended. Al, like you said, when they're getting the best perimeter defender on Maxey because Harden's out, that's the time for Tobias too to step up. Yeah. He does not do that. He just doesn't.
I think he's done. I think he's done with this situation. It's tiring. It's tiring.
You think he's mentally checked out?
And yeah, and to be he gets dumped on all the time. He's the scapegoat a lot. And I know the fans are going to say, well, we're giving him all this money. He should be giving it his all. Dude, these guys are still human. Out of college, I had a sales job making 6 figures. I made it through that job for 1 year because it was a mental drain. I hated it. And right. I think that's the situation that he's in. I don't think he wants to play for the 76ers anymore.
I just think it's self-inflicted though. Like nobody's riding him if he's doing what he's supposed to do.
It is. I'm not giving him, the green light here to say, hey, it's all our fault. It's not. Some of this is self-inflicted. I agree, but it's at the point where it's like crap or get off the can. I mean, but you just can't move him because of his contract.
And I admit that he was really good last year in the end of the year. March and April, I will say, I will give him credit. The dude had a really good playoffs for us. I get that. But in the same way, I was still hard on Castellanos after he made those defensive plays, and you guys wrote me about it because I was like, let me see it on a regular, consistent basis. Same thing with Tobias. 1 year for me, one playoff for me is not going to make me say it was worth that 5-year deal that he got. It just wasn't. Yeah. And he was in the right place at the right time. More power to him. He made more money here and will make more money still here than he's ever going to need in his life. But he did not earn a $180 million contract here. He just didn't.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that he's overpaid, but I'll say this, like, he's still shooting this year. I mean, Grant, Chris, when it happens, I'll agree with you there. Like, he lets you down in big moments. He's 40% from three. He's averaging a career high in steals this year. He's been better defensively.
Yeah, but it's not about
again,
the stats for me. It's about when he does it.
I understand. And
That's
I
my thing. Is
I
like
hear you.
you want to do that. You want to like he's gotten better with his jump shot, his 3-point shot, especially off the just off the pass. I get that and I agree with you. But when it's time to go in the fourth, he's like, all right, I put my work in. Like, now it's Joe's turn. He's the guy. Let him do it. And when you need him to help Joe, he either misses layups,
He did blow that layup.
dropping passes, or he's getting stripped, or he's leading a fast break and going right into the ground. And it's just frustrating.
I understand. I'll say this in closing, and I'll let you guys have your closing remarks as well. I will give the Sixers credit for this, or at least throw this out there to the fan base as a stat that I haven't heard much. The Sixers' schedule this year, they have played the hardest schedule in the NBA. The average winning percentage of the teams that they've played is .560, which is the equivalent of a 45-36. Is that math right out? 37. 45-37 team, which is basically like a 5 or 6 seed every night. The next closest team is at about 43 wins. So their schedule has been extremely difficult. Yeah. Again, sitting at 7-7. It's not going to get any easier Friday when they play Milwaukee. So that number is going to go up even more. Yeah. They're hanging tough. And look, they'll be in the playoffs. They'll be in the mix. I just don't see it. I don't see it ending any differently than it has.
I think right now they're a first round exit. But I will say I'm hoping that Joel is going to go on a little bit of a tear coming up. He does have Giannis directly not 101, but manned up for Friday. And then the next night he has Towns. And then next week Ben's coming in. He probably won't
Towns. It's not Towns, it's Gobert.
Yeah, well, whatever. Towns is the guy he's not worried about Gobert. Ben's in next week. Probably won't play because he'll find a way reason not to play.
He's only playing 10 minutes a game anyway.
Yeah, but I think just having him in the building is going to ignite and energize him, I think, and the team. I'm going to start wearing a shirt that says "Free Seth Curry." I want Seth Curry back on the team. I don't know what we're going to do or how we get it, but he would be such a perfect fit back on this team. We never really filled that hole that he left. And I think that if we could find a way to get him back, that'd be awesome. But he looks like he just lost his puppy every time he's on that team, on that bench, on the TV. When I see them play, he looks like he's just like, I don't know how I got here. Yeah. So I'd love to find a way to get him back. But I hope that the team and Joel gets a little bit of a tear in the next few games, with the schedule lightening up after Milwaukee a little bit. So we'll see how it goes.
Al, anything else?
Listen, the Sixers, it's a long season. So, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions. But if you want to watch some exciting basketball, Penn State basketball's 3-0 out the gate.
Dude.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Jalen Pickett, second triple-double in school history. So there you go, guys. Tune in.
How about my Owls knocking off the Villanova Wildcats?
Love it.
The real Philadelphia
0-2 for me, so I got nothing to say. I'll say in closing, I think for Joel, this is where we started the conversation. I want to wrap it up. Defensively, he's looked a little more engaged, I thought, as well. I thought defensively he was tremendous the other night. And just offensively, I think to make it like he just needs to play a simpler game. Like sometimes he tries to do way too much. And when he just gets the ball, and if they're playing off him, he takes that 15-footer, or if they're playing up on him, it's one dribble into the hoop. It's simple. But when he starts trying to draw all the contact and he's not getting calls, that's when it just gets complicated. He starts turning the ball over. But we'll have a lot more Sixers talk as the season goes on. Big NBA guys here. So as the Eagles kind of wrap up, we'll jump into a lot more Sixers talk. We will be back with segment 2, where we're going to bring the receipts out, boys. We're going to look at our preseason.
I cannot wait.
NFL predictions. And we're going to see if you want to make any adjustments on the fly. So we'll be right back with segment 2, bringing out the receipts. Welcome back, everyone, to segment 2. As I mentioned, we're going to get out the receipts from our early season predictions. We're not going to go into the over-under win totals yet. We'll do that at the end of the year. But we want to go into our playoff predictions. And who do we want to roast first?
I don't know. All I know is this is all just foreplay for the song segment because I think that's
tell
what the
everybody what
fans.
the song segment was, dude. There's
Huh?
no spoilers. No spoilers. We didn't even talk about the song segment yet.
Well, that's what the fans are going to really come to see when they listen to this.
Yeah, segment 3 is going to be a little different stroke, so make sure you stay in tune for that one.
Good luck roasting me. My picks were gold.
There's a couple.
I forgot some of mine.
There's 3 really shitty picks on your resume, Al. You're like,
Didn't you pick the Panthers?
I knocked out of the park, dude. I'm very happy about my picks.
So let's start with Al. So Al had the following teams in the NFC in order. He had Philly as the 1 seed, which looks like a really good pick at this point in time. San Francisco as the 2, who looks decent. Guest, you sent out a very premature text on Sunday night about the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, you did.
No, it wasn't. I don't think they're that good. I told you all year, I'm not a big believer in the 49ers. I'm just not.
I really like the 49ers at this
point. They're the Joel Embiid of the NFL. Their ceiling is high, but their floor is low.
They're the world's greatest 5-4 team in the history of the league.
Well, they're a different team with McCaffrey. That's your boy too.
Yeah, I know, but I still don't. They have an average quarterback. That's a big thing.
He's gotten to the Super Bowl before.
No, I know. I'm not saying that he can't get them there. I just don't see it with them this year.
If Joe Flacco can win it, he can win it. But go ahead. Keep keeping off my pristine picks here, Adam.
Okay. Minnesota as the 3 looks very good.
Fantastic. Chef's kiss.
Not as good as Minnesota as the 2.
Short change.
No, there's time.
Huh? Tampa Bay is the 4. Another good one.
I hit all the division winners so far. We're in week 10 of the season.
First of all, San Francisco's not leading the division. Seattle is.
So
give it some time. Give it some time. Give it some time.
And then your 3 wild cards suck.
Yeah, not great.
Rams, Packers, Panthers. All not going to make it.
Not great. And the Rams and the Packers were like safe picks. And Carolina was that. I mean, we talked about it when we made the picks. There's a team or two that come out of nowhere. And Carolina, for me, I thought, okay, with McCaffrey, who is now on the Niners, maybe Mayfield finds some magic. But that obviously
didn't happen.
Crap.
Trust me, I know. Yes, let's look at your NFC teams. You had Tampa as the 1 seed. Not a great pick, but they'll get in.
Yeah.
Philly is the 2, looking good there. Rams as the 3. I mean, we all had the Rams.
Everybody got bit on that.
We all had the Rams in Green Bay.
Yeah.
So somebody had the Rams as their 1 seed, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me and everybody else in the world.
Not everybody else.
Except for us two.
Yeah, I was going to say, not everybody else.
Bozos. Packers is your 4. I said that. Minnesota is your 5. Dallas is your 6. And San Fran is your 7. So your wild cards actually look pretty good there.
Wait a minute. What? Say one more time. You had the who are my division winners again?
Tampa, Philly, Rams, Packers.
Yeah, for some reason, Chris, you hated the Packers, but you still took them to win the North. You hated the Vikings too, though, if I remember correctly.
I did.
And
I still hate those rats, but they're better than I thought. I will say that.
So for my picks, I have the Rams as the 1, disappointing. Vikings is the 2, tremendous pick.
That is a big pick by you, the Vikings this year.
Tampa as the 3, Philly as the 4.
That's a bad one, though. That's right. Terrible.
I agree.
I had them with 11 wins, I think. So it wasn't that bad. It's just that I had the other ones with more. So again, maybe a little bit less than you guys, but I still thought they were going to be good. And then my wild cards, 1 out of 3. I have the Packers, the Panthers, and the Cowboys as my wild cards.
So we all whiffed on Green Bay
and the Rams.
And the Rams.
So
did we really whiff though, or is it more like they just forgot how to play football?
Well, none of us had the Goyones to pick a different team. I mean, the writing was on the wall. I'm sorry.
Look, we could say the writing was on the wall, but the problem was that all the other teams in the NFC sucked. Like the teams that are going to get in are the Giants and Seattle, where they're
nobody had that.
Right. So those are the teams that are going to get in.
That's why I love the NFL.
had the over on Seattle, but I think we all had the under on the Giants, if I'm not mistaken.
I had the over on the Giants, but I had them at like 7 or 8 at most.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the beauty of the NFL is this kind of stuff happens every year where a couple of teams
I agree
would work and it's all of a sudden
the parity makes it great.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you guys this. Right now, here's the NFC teams that are in the playoffs. Philly, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Seattle, San Francisco, the Giants, and the Cowboys. Is anyone else a threat? The only other teams that I have listed are Green Bay and Arizona. Like that, I think the NFC is pretty much set already.
I agree.
I mean, if
There's only one. There's one team. Well,
you're gonna say Washington?
no, but they're for a 7 spot maybe. But I was thinking actually, Atlanta's a sticky team.
Yeah, but Tampa Bay's schedule is very easy down the stretch. And do you see like?
No, I agree. Yeah.
I just think there's not a lot to talk about with the NFC. I think that the playoff spots are pretty much set, barring like maybe the Giants collapse.
Atlanta is that team that could sneak in as the 7th seed and then go into wild card weekend as like an 11-point underdog. And everybody's like, oh yeah, let's take the Falcons. That's too many points. And then they get blown out by like 35.
Yeah.
Could we see Seattle? Could you see Seattle falling off at 6-4?
Seattle's the team, the opposite of that, where they're going to be like the 4 seed and they're going to be like a 2-point favorite, and they're going to get no love and they're going to get blown out.
I mean, the NFC stinks.
It does. The other team we all whiffed on, we were all too bullheaded, was the Cowboys. We should have all had the Cowboys in the wild card.
I did have the Cowboys in the wild card.
Did you? Okay. Well, that we should have all had.
I had Dallas in. Did I have Dallas in?
Yeah, I guess that Dallas. You were the only one without Dallas, Hal.
What the hell am I looking at here? Oh, I was looking for the word Cowboys. I'm seeing Dallas. Okay.
All right, let's jump to the
now that this is on YouTube, let me show you guys what Adam sends me. This screenshot of an Excel spreadsheet.
This Office Space status.
It's a picture of his monitor.
We're trying to get more technologically sound here at the 3K podcast.
Not even an Excel file, but an actual picture of
monitor. It's like guest picture on Twitter. It's a picture of a monitor of the picture.
Listen, it worked. All right, let's get to the AFC because I think we could have much more conversations there. Let's start. We'll go back to Al to start. Buffalo, Kansas City, obviously 2 good picks. Baltimore looking solid. Jacksonville, no. Yeah,
that was your boys.
Yeah,
I love the Jaguars.
Yeah, he got high. He was hype early on.
Dude, they're like a couple possessions here and there from having that lead in that division. They're not a bad team.
What, 4 and 5?
Not a bad team.
Chargers, I think, are going to be okay, but we'll talk about them in a minute. Denver, horrible pick.
I hated that pick when I made it.
Horrible pick. And the Bengals, who they're in the mix as well.
I think they're just kind of sleepwalking the Bengals right now for some reason. And they had some injuries too, but
yeah. We're going to talk about them because they're going to be in the mix for this final spot that I want to talk about you guys about who you think will.
Yeah, things are shaping up nicely for them. I like the Bengals.
Guest, you had Buffalo, Kansas City as well, followed by the Bengals as the 3, the Colts as the 4, Chargers, Denver, Baltimore. So overall, I'd say pretty solid with the exception of Denver and obviously the Colts.
Yeah.
Don't look like they're going to be able to get it done as well. But we all whiffed on the AFC champions, AFC South. And then me, I had the Chargers, Baltimore, Buffalo as my top 3. Then I had the Colts, the Bengals. I had Vegas, which was my Denver. But I was the only one on the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Good for you.
Didn't have Kansas City, though.
Yeah, what a dumb.
Yeah, it was. You know what? Sometimes when you're starting a podcast, you got to put yourself out there.
You wanted a hot take so bad, and you reached for one that was just ridiculous.
Talk yourself into that one.
Yeah.
And I was telling you at the time it was stupid.
Listen, it was stupid.
You live and learn.
But I've said this to you many times off air about that pick. We all thought the AFC West was going to be a lot better. Like, we thought it was the best division in football, and it sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So, talk about the AFC and where we are now. Here's what I'm seeing. Kansas City and Buffalo are getting in. Baltimore will likely get in. Miami will get in. And then Tennessee is going to win the South.
No one had Tennessee, right?
Nobody had Tennessee. So then we have 3 teams for 2 spots. Who do you like? I got the Jets, the Bengals, and the Chargers. And guess I had the Jets with 2 wins this year.
That was a bad take.
The Jets Jets at 6-3, Bengals and Chargers both 5-4.
Not knowing the schedules going forward, I would imagine the Jets schedule has to be hard going forward.
So here's the Jets. I actually only wrote down the Jets. The Jets home games are Chicago, Detroit, and Jacksonville.
Wow.
But their 5 road games are New England, Minnesota, Buffalo, Seattle, Miami.
It's legitimately potentially they win the home games, they lose the road games.
They have to beat New England this weekend, I think.
Yeah.
But the Bengals and the Chargers schedules are not much easier, and the Chargers are beat the hell up, man.
Yeah, they are. They got a shell of an offense.
So I'll go through the Bengals schedule real quick. You heard the Jets.
Wait. Before you go to the Bengals, did you guys see the guy that flipped the coin for the Jets season?
No. Oh, yeah. Did he win another one?
He posted it in August. He flipped a coin to decide every Jets game, and so far he's 9 for 9. But he has the Jets lose in the next 2 out of the bye. But then he has them, I think, winning out and making the AFC Championship game. Or I shouldn't say he. The coin has them.
I did see that. That would be
Internet's
crazy.
an amazing place.
All right. So for the Bengals, at Pittsburgh, should win off a bye week. At Tennessee, tricky game there. Then they get the Chiefs, the Browns with Deshaun Watson. At Tampa Bay, at New England, Buffalo, Baltimore. That's not easy.
No.
Let me ask you a question. And you think there's any chance Cleveland sneaks in the mix with this?
They only got 3 wins, don't they?
Yeah, 3-6, man. That's rough.
Yeah, they have to pretty much win out, right?
They got some ground to make up.
And then the Chargers schedule is
Are they 3-6? Are they that bad?
Yeah, they're bad. This loss hurt them this week. The Chargers are they have the Chiefs at home Sunday night. They're at the Cardinals, at the Raiders, home for the Dolphins, home for the Titans, at the Colts, home for the Rams, at the Broncos.
I like that schedule the best out of all of them.
Yeah, home Sunday night for the Chiefs is
who was that?
That was the Chargers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go Chargers and Bengals just because it's safe. I think they're the better teams. But I like the Jets, man. Their defense is really good.
The Jets are fun. I will say that. They're a lot better than I gave them credit for at the beginning of the year. They are a fun team, and they have the underdog flavor to them where, like, you want to see them, the lovable loser type thing where you want to see them beat these guys when they play them. So it is a nice little story.
Them and the Eagles, the only undefeated teams on the road this year in the NFL.
I think the Jets have probably the most impressive wins of the 3.
The Jets have been good.
Yeah, the Jets beat the Bills. They blow out the Dolphins. I mean, they go to Green Bay when we still thought Green Bay might have been nice, and they win 27-10. I don't know. I'm not counting the Jets out. And the female Zach Wilson was probably the best looking of all of them too.
Oh, here we go.
I got to send you these pictures.
Let's go to our. Do you want to revise your championship game Super Bowl picks? I would imagine that you do. We'll start with Chris. So, Chris, you had the Rams over Tampa, which I imagine we're going to want to edit, and Kansas City over Buffalo in your AFC championship. And then you had the Chiefs, I believe, over the Rams to win it all.
So I'm keeping the AFC. I still think that's going to happen. I still think Chiefs over Bills. I think this whole season for the NFC at least is destined to have a collision course at Lincoln Financial Field at the end of the year with the Vikings. I think the Eagles and Vikings play back here, and I think the Eagles win the game.
You're a primetime Kirk. You think Kirk's going to get it done in the playoffs to get them that far?
I mean, I don't know. I think he could. I think they'll have their defense, especially, I think, can get them in a good spot. If they can get the running game solid in those playoff games, they have a great 1-2 punch. Obviously with Dalvin and Madison and having Justin Jefferson is just such a freaking weapon. That guy is ridiculous.
Best catch I've ever seen in my life.
He's ridiculous. So like they're good enough to get there without Cousins carrying them. I just feel like it's destined to have that Eagles Vikings NFC Championship game again. I think the Eagles beat them. I think it'll be a closer game, but I think the Eagles. I know they took a big L yesterday, but like I feel like they're going to respond well to that, and I think that they're still the class of the league right now, and I see them beating Minnesota in that championship game.
You got Andy or you got Serrani in the Super Bowl?
Man, I didn't even think about that Andy Reid story with the Eagles for the Super Bowl. I didn't even think about that. That also could be a destiny thing too. I could see that playing. The NFL would eat that up.
No pun intended.
Eat
Right.
that up. I would say Kansas City.
Fair.
Yeah, I'd say
Al, what do you got? You had San Fran over Philly in the NFC before the season and Buffalo over Kansas City. Both viable. You going to stick with it or are you going to make a change?
I don't hate it. If you're going to ask me if I'm going to make a change, I would flip Philly and San Fran. I'd keep those teams in the NFC Championship. But I think that Philly is steady enough where it would be they're going to win that game 3 out of 4 times. San Fran's going to need a lot of things to go right to win that game at the link.
Right.
So that I would change that. But I mean, you know, if you're obviously, I feel good about my picks. I love the Buffalo over Kansas City pick. I mean, it looks like all roads are leading to that again in the AFC Championship.
They're probably going to have to go to Arrowhead, though.
I understand that. I understand that.
Brett Favre Jr. is playing quarterback for the Bills.
I do think. Please listen. I do think there is a little bit of merit though to the whole revenge factor in that game. So I do. I'll stick with Buffalo in that game, and then I do think that Buffalo would end up having enough to win the Super Bowl. I think if we get to the Super Bowl at that point, whether it's Buffalo San Fran or whether it's Buffalo Philly, I think it's probably more of a coin toss with Buffalo and Philly. But if it's Buffalo and San Fran, Buffalo's the favorite.
Listen, that Bills Chiefs matchup is becoming like the Bulls Knicks back in the 90s. Like must see what like it's like Jordan versus Patrick Ewing, like
folklore. It was the greatest game I've ever seen in my life.
Not only that, but like every time they matched up, it's a great game. Like that was the greatest game, but every time it's like it's must see TV, man. Like that's such a great rivalry. There's just evenly matched teams.
Any concerns with the way Josh Allen's playing and his arm injury, quote unquote?
The injury is concerning. Absolutely.
He's thrown four red zone interceptions in the last 2 weeks.
I think what's more concerning is his mental psyche, honestly, because the last 2 games in his press conference after the game, he's addressed first and foremost how he's played like crap. And he said as much. And I'm wondering how much of that's going to get into his head a little bit.
I'm not concerned because that team's so explosive, but maybe I am maybe not concerned is not the right term, but he takes a lot of risks, man, and he'll turn the ball over, and you got to be careful in the playoffs with those type of plays.
Let me ask you a question. I know back to the NFC for one quick second. So I gave the Hard Knocks in season a watch last week with the Cardinals, and I wasn't really that into it, but I will say the one part that was interesting was when the coaching staff was telling the players, if we can win the next 3 games, which are all against division opponents, we could be in a driver's seat to win this division still because of how bad everybody is. With the Rams now losing Cup also for a while, do you think the Cardinals have a chance to quietly sneak in and make noise the second half?
Not with that bum at quarterback.
The Cardinals stink.
That's your fantasy quarterback.
I hate him. I think
we called that right. We called that right, Chris, in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
They're not good. They're not good. But Josh Allen in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Do you know his numbers?
He was unbelievable.
He doesn't take those risks in the playoffs, Adam. He was 9 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, 318 yards. Obviously, 2 games. But
what I would like to do, and I saw this is not an original idea, but I would like to next week have us rank our quarterbacks under the age of 25, because I think there's a lot of interesting conversations to have with a lot of these younger quarterbacks. And I think the rankings would be very, very curious to see as to who we value.
It's not a bad idea. We were a little spoiled though, because we grew up with the golden era of quarterbacks. I mean, these guys aren't going to be as good as like the Bradys, the Brees, the Mannings.
I just think forget about that, like the elite. I just think there's a lot of quarterbacks at crossroads, and I'm talking Kyler Murray, and I'm talking Justin Fields and Zach Wilson, and I'm curious to see where you guys would rank those because I think there's a lot of room to move around, and even if you throw Burrow and Herbert and Lamar,
Oh, sure, yeah,
like there's a ton of really good young quarterbacks that are kind of at a crossroads, I would say.
Penn
So you're
State
saying for like
quarterback.
the top 5 guys at that
Wait,
age?
Penn State
No, I would
quarterback
say-
Sean Clifford is older than almost all of those guys, by the way.
We'll figure it out next week. But just
Yeah,
an idea
let's
that I saw.
bookmark that because I think that would be also interesting to see where we have those guys.
We can include Clifford on the list too, Al, if you want.
No thanks. He's older than Hurts. You know that? He's older than Wilson. Dude's all right. Let's move on.
So I'll close out the segment with my my picks. I'm obviously going to change them because they sucked. I had the Rams over the Packers in the NFC Championship game.
That'd be a great game right now, huh?
That'd be a great. That'd be a great game in 2001.
That's one of those games that gets flexed off of Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
But I had Buffalo over the Chargers in the AFC. I'm going to tell you this: taking everything in my power not to put the Miami Dolphins in the AFC Championship game. I love that team.
Well, it could be the same effect if they end up getting like a home game or so. Somehow it'd be the same effect like the Heat having basketball. That's a lot of temptation and a lot of distractions in South Beach for a team to come in there and play that team on a playoff game on the road.
I don't think they're a more complete team than Buffalo or Kansas City.
I agree. No, I agree.
I don't think Cincinnati was last year either. And Cincinnati kind of avoided the seeding, and those two teams played each other in the semis.
Listen, I would not
kicked off Kansas City sleeping.
I would lose a lot of sleep if I was a defensive coordinator having the game plan against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in a playoff game.
I was just going to say, these receivers make all the difference in the world this year, man. There's some
No.
special receivers this year.
And there's special duo receivers too.
Yeah.
Like it's not like these teams have a couple guys.
Yeah.
And I think the coach is a very, very good coach.
That square dude.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel.
Man, that guy looks like he just was at the right place by the bar when the owner walked in and was just like, "You want to coach the team? How's it the coach the Miami
good job with that team?" And even picking up Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson looks really, really good for them as well. I just don't know if they have enough defensively to hold up against a Buffalo or Kansas City when it comes down to it. So I'm going to go Kansas City over.
Oh my God!
Look, I gotta go. I gotta go to them. They've been my team all year.
What a yeah.
I'm gonna go Kansas City over Miami in the AFC Championship game. And then I'm going to go 49ers over Eagles in the NFC Championship.
Oh, here the 49ers. Stop. Stop. Oh, all right.
And I'm going to go Kansas City over San Francisco, which will be a repeat of what, Super Bowl 2 years ago? 3 years ago? 3 years ago. Kansas City, San Francisco.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Yeah, because Kansas City got drubbed by Tampa. But
Was that the last Seltzer Bowl that you hosted?
Yeah, I don't think we did anything for Tampa Bay, Kansas City. I think that was the COVID year.
Wait,
Right.
did Adam hosted Kansas City, San Fran?
I had a bunch of Super Bowl parties.
Did you wear your Jeff Garcia 49ers jersey?
Let's wrap this segment up. Enough of this nonsense.
Listen, it's on YouTube. The fans can see it now, boy. Nothing to hide. Get the picture of the Griffey kid up
He's
there.
wearing it now.
Remember the chick that Garcia was
that's
with?
probably a Jeff Garcia jersey.
Remember the chick Garcia was with?
Nah.
Yeah,
I remember vaguely, but not.
She was a Playboy model, and
Yeah.
then went to the WWF for a little bit.
You can hate on it all you want, but it is what it is. It's something you got to give.
You can't help yourself back
Yeah.
in the day.
I don't think it was the money she was after.
Well, listen, T.O. didn't think that was a legitimate relationship, evidently.
Smells like a rat.
No, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and must be a duck.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up segment 2. We're going to get to segment 3, which Chris is extremely excited to be a part of, where we're going to take a little break from the sports world. And Chris, why don't you tell them what the idea was since you came up with it?
So I was driving home the other day, and I was listening to 90s on 9 on Sirius XM radio because I'm the only one keeping it still in business. And I thought, you know what? It'd be kind of cool to see our favorite 90s songs when we were growing up. So I had the idea of doing a time capsule, and we're going to make it a draft format and have our 90s time capsule songs. Not necessarily would you say not necessarily our favorite
Right.
90s songs, but the songs that best define the era.
Yeah.
All right, so we will be back with segment 3 with some 90s hits.
Let's get it.
We are back for segment 3, and the laughs are already taking place. As Chris mentioned, what we're going to do here, we are taking songs from the 90s and putting together a time capsule and having a draft in regards to what songs best represent the 90s. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversation pieces that we're going to go through. I'm going to try and edit this on the audio version of the podcast where you'll actually hear some of the songs. I don't think I'll be able to do it on the YouTube version, as that'll be a starting point. But we did the draft order. I have the number 1 pick. Chris is going to pick second. Al's going to pick third. It's a snake draft. There's no sort of genres in regards to, I need a rap song, a pop song, a ballad, anything like that. We're winging it from here, and we're going to get it going. We're also not sure how many rounds it's going to go, but we're just
Let's just roll with it.
Here's what we need, though. Here's what we need, because I want this to be some sort of a competition, right? So to the listeners out there, right? To all the listeners out there, what we need is we're going to put a poll up on Twitter as to who drafted the best fitting 90s songs. Like, if you're going to throw in now that's what I call 90s. Who had the best picks? Because we need to know. There needs to be something on the line
But
here.
we need to make sure that we explain the rules, because these aren't necessarily what I think are the best songs.
No.
Captain, we got to make sure we explain that.
I think it's what I just said, right? If you were to make now that's what I call the 90s. What are the top songs that embody, that characterize that decade of music? Because it's not our favorite songs. It's the songs that we think best fit that decade.
It could be songs that we very well hated.
Can I say this? You guys are obviously more music savvy than I am. I'm the underdog in this. There's no doubt. I was researching some of the top hits from the 90s. In my opinion, the music in the beginning of the 90s was horrible.
Yeah, but we were also 5 and 6 years old, right? So that doesn't speak to us. I agree with you.
Baby Got Back was like the number 2 ranked song in 1992, and Wilson Phillips' Hold On, which is not a bad song.
Now Wilson Phillips.
That was the number 1 song in 1990 on the Billboard Top 100.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still true, but You Can't Touch This was like the biggest song of all time if you went by like record sales or something forever. Yeah. So no, it's all BS.
I think it was by like purchased singles or something at that time.
I'm gonna go ahead and just real quick. I did no research for this. Everything is from up here.
Same.
But I'm willing to bet Chris's list is the worst.
Oh man, you know what? You're always on my back about something. My list is all that, cuz.
All right, who wants to hit the draft music?
Go ahead, Chris.
So real quick, so just to let you know, Seltzer, you had the number 1 pick. The 3 in the Keystone beat that plays before the segments was made in 2020, so it's ineligible.
I was actually going to make a joke and pick that at some point.
Yeah, but, and I need that cash too for that, John. If you're going to put it on,
I'm glad you beat me to it. All right. So I mentioned in the text thread that I think there is a pick at 1-1 that is a lock for this pick, and Al said the same thing, which has me a little bit nervous.
There's a lock.
As I look into the 90s and what was going on in the music world, there were a lot of different storylines. But to me, the biggest storyline of the 1990s was Biggie and Pac and what was going on and the eventual downfall and murder of both of them. So I said to myself, what song best encapsulates not only what happened with those guys, but is also just a banger? So at 1-1, I'm taking Mo Money, Mo Problems.
I don't hate this pick. It's on my list.
It is on my list as well.
It's not the number 1, but this to me is the number 1 rap song that embodies the 90s.
It's such a banger.
It's the number 1. I don't, Chris, and I know you want to say them too. There's a couple that I think we're thinking of, but this is the one that when you think of 90s hip hop, this was the one.
And also, anywhere you go, especially if you go to a wedding with a bunch of white folks, as soon as you hear B-I-G-P-O-P-P. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Everybody starts singing it.
Especially when they're drunk.
It's like the living on a prayer for the 90s kids.
Yeah. The rollies go in the sky. We wave them side to side.
Everybody, yeah, absolutely. So that's that. I don't know that 1-1. I might argue that a little bit, but it definitely should be in the capsule.
Yeah. Good pick. It's a good pick.
Thank you.
All right. Now y'all have known me for 24, 25 some odd years now at this point. So this shouldn't be a surprise to either one. But this song, all right, I believe it topped the charts in over 25 countries when it was released. It sold like 18 million copies or something like that. To this day, one of the highest grossing songs of all time. I believe, I have no facts to back this up. I'm almost positive, though, if it's not still, at one point was the highest grossing and the most popular song of all time from a movie. And that would be Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On.
It was on my list. I knew you were going to pick it.
That song, for people who are too young to remember it or weren't alive yet, you'll never see the hype around a movie and a song that went with the movie in the same way that Titanic had ever again.
I had it projected as a 4th round pick, but it's on the list.
Yeah, that was my my 1st round pick.
It's a shame that in this day and age, and you just alluded to it, Chris, that movies and music the movie soundtrack to a movie are not intertwined the way they were in the 80s and in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Where they used to make a whole music video for the song for the movie based around the movie.
They wrote songs about the movie.
It was so important back in that time. And it stinks that it's not like that anymore. Now we get the Cardi B song for the Elvis movie.
It's terrible.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just throwaway songs. But it used to be that the songs made the movie and vice versa.
Like Breakfast Club, for instance. Like when you talk about Don't You Forget About Me, like
Yep.
That was that every time you hear that song, you think of the movie. My Heart Will Go On. When you hear that, you think of Titanic. Like you can't
Wild
separate.
Wild West and Wild Wild West, you know.
So as you said earlier, your music knowledge amongst the three of us.
But to be fair, that Titanic song is still like they still put it on sports videos because it's that much of a classic song when they do. Granted, it's a little bit of a mockery, but it still hits.
It still hits, and it still brings you back to 7th grade dances, the whole thing. People used to. I remember girls in our grade school class in 7th grade at the time that saw that movie in theaters and paid their $5.50 at the time a ticket and that was expensive at the time, to see that movie 10, 12 times.
I mean,
Celine Dion was a power ballad queen too. Let's not poo-poo Celine, and it's all coming back to me now.
And also remember Because You Love Me from Up Close and Personal. That was a big
absolutely.
And the crazy thing is, she didn't want to record My Heart Will Go On. Her husband, her late husband, who was also a music producer, convinced her, "Yo, sis, you gotta get on this one. Like you ain't going. I ain't letting you mess this up. You gonna get on this one."
All right, Al. Back-to-back picks.
As Adam said, he had that as a projected 4th round pick. So, Chris, that was a great pick if this was the 4th round. I applaud that pick. It was fantastic. But you both let the clear-cut #1 song of the 90s slip, and it's absolutely ridiculous that you let this happen. It's not my personal favorite, but the #1 song of the 90s is Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit.
It was #2 on my list.
When you think of a song that just encapsulates the 90s and the spark of the grunge era, which turned into the alternative era, which turned into that like alt emo punk era, it was Smells Like Teen Spirit. And it was that song. While again, it's not even my favorite Nirvana song, I can't deny its greatness in music history. And that's the #1 pick, guys. You guys both dropped the ball there. That was
I had it as #2. It's fine. I mean, I prefer Mo Money, Mo Problems, but Smells Like Teen Spirit's a classic.
I put my subjectivity aside, Adam. I listen. I probably wouldn't have taken this song at all. I'll be honest, but this has to be on the list.
I love that song. I love it. I actually love all 3 of these picks. I love Smells Like Teen Spirit though. That's still a banger for me.
All right, well, listen, let's just end the pod, and Adam, just edit in these 3 songs back to back for the next 20 minutes.
Put them on a loop.
Chris, on Twitter, just the other day, there was a little bit of a trend. People were asking what Nirvana's #2 song is, because everybody knows that's their 1. So what's their #2?
I would, in my opinion, or what I think people said.
No, your opinion.
Honestly, my opinion would be probably not the one that everybody else said, but I love, and I'm going blank right now on the name of it. I love the song that they used for the Batman movie that just was out too. They redid it. I can't remember the name of it. I'll think of it in a second. But
The most popular choice, probably mine, was Heart Shaped Box.
right, okay,
But In Bloom is a great song too.
that is a great song. Oh my God, Something in the Way. Something in the Way is one of my favorites. I love that song.
What's the other one that's really popular? It
All Apologies.
no, it opened Black Widow. They did a remake of
all I know is when my man was talking about eating people's cancer, they probably should have got him evaluated off the top right then and there. Like Kurt Cobain was probably telling us he had some mental issues in his lyrics as it was.
Yeah.
He was a little out there, but brilliant nonetheless.
All right, I know I'm up again. I can go so many ways with this. I really wasn't expecting to get "Smells Like Teen Spirit" at 3, and I'm a little sad that I did, because like I said, I didn't really want to take it, but I knew I had to. So I'm gonna go, because I think a couple of these songs will come back to me. So I'm gonna go Backstreet Boys. I Want It That Way.
Yeah, that was my pick, dude. That was the next
Backstreet Boys. I Want It That Way. When you talk about the quintessential boy band song of all time, I think it's I Want It That Way. And
it's not of all time. I might be bought by bias, but that's 2000s.
It could be, it's debatable, because I Want It That Way has surpassed like music where like it's a pop culture song. And we lived through that era where the boy band resurgence really happened, and you had the NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, but you also had the 98 Degrees. You had the little jobber bands like Five. Chris was a big Five fan.
O-Town.
So listen,
Turning Off the Lights, or whatever that song was called.
Yeah, baby,
when the lights go out. When the lights go out. Yeah.
Shout out to Versa, who had that CD, I think. So listen, there was a lot of boy bands, and there was a lot of music coming out from those boy bands. And I agree, Adam, that Bye 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 is a banger, and it's one of the best songs. But I Want It That Way is the quintessential boy band song.
I was taking it if it came back to me.
Okay, I'm glad I took it. So yeah, that would be my pick.
So am I up?
Yep.
Oh my God.
There's
every pick is pressure.
So hard to do.
Every pick, there's so many songs. Like, all right, so I'm gonna go. Oh my God, I can't even make the pick. I'm gonna go far out the box.
In the second round. Here we go.
I'm gonna go far out the box, probably with my next 2 picks.
Yes, you need a safe pick.
You want me to do a safe pick? All right, I'll do the safe pick.
No,
because it's one I've been considering. So you're right. I probably should do a safe pick and treat it like an actual, like if it was a real fantasy draft, I gotta be safe. I'm gonna go with Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Oh my God, you should have let him pick who we wanted to pick.
That's clear cut. That's
clear. That was
unbelievable.
I mean, that's spawned a career, the whole thing with Britney and a whole era of, and they had a little bit of a window too with like the little sex pot teen singers, Christina,
that was
Jessica Simpson.
Which looking back, how out of line was all of that?
First of all, she was 16 making the song "Hit Me Baby One More Time."
Like at the time, we were like 13, so to us it was like this is great, but like that was so out of line, man. That was
out of pocket.
Yeah.
Although the 15-year-old us loved it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So those were my next 2 picks that you guys just snagged off the board.
It's been great watching Adam with his head in his hand and like
scratching off my list. So I'm going to go with another ballad, as I wanted to make sure I had a ballad on my list. And
I gotta tell Megan about these ballads. Gotta get some slow dance action.
My Heart Will Go On was my number 1 ballad. However, I will go to the early 90s where I knocked it earlier, and I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston from the Bodyguard soundtrack is going to be my ballad on my list there. So I'm going to go with Whitney and I Will Always Love You from the Bodyguard as my second round pick.
If you Google it, I learned this at Quizzo not too long ago. That's the number 1 karaoke song.
No, I'm not surprised by It's actually the greatest vocal performance, I think, of all time.
Yeah, but you didn't think
and it slipped to the second round. Unbelievable.
Don't Stop Believing should be the #1 karaoke song. Who the hell wants to attempt to do the Whitney? I mean,
well, because everybody's lost their inhibitions and they're probably plastered. They're like, I can sing Whitney, look. And it happened, and it's a nightmare. But I mean, I could see that. People trying.
Right. It's a solid pick.
Yeah.
So my next pick, I didn't want to go 2 hip-hop songs early, but again, I had all those picks that you guys had were on my list as first and second round picks. And you guys haven't taken a hip-hop song, so I'm going to snag something potentially off of your board. But rest in peace, Coolio. Gangsta's Paradise.
That's on mine. Yep. That's on mine.
That's a shocker.
But you didn't want to have that on your list?
No, I didn't.
I
have a couple other hip hop songs before that on my list.
I don't know if there's any better than Gangsta's Paradise.
No, that's definitely on mine. That's a big one.
It's up there.
Dangerous Minds? Is that the Dangerous Minds soundtrack?
Yep.
You guys are right about the soundtrack stuff because those things you can't do that anymore. We're picking songs out from movies.
No, Michelle Pfeiffer was in the video.
No. I'm saying present day, like you can't identify.
No, that's what I'm saying is that's how good it was back in the day. Is that she was in video for the song.
Yeah, no, Gangsta's Paradise. I had one other hip hop song. I'm gonna refrain from picking that.
Don't say it because I'm not taking it. But I think there's a couple. There's a couple more that could potentially be taken. Chris is going to take one that potentially shouldn't be taken. I guarantee you that.
Man, listen.
Here comes. Yo, what are the odds that Guest takes an LL Cool J song? I'm going to be disappointed if he
shut him down. I shut him down.
Actually, doing it was considered. Doing it was.
I've only got 4 more songs on my cheat sheet here, so I'm gonna have to start researching if we're gonna go deep here.
Doing it was on my my war room list here of I got 45 deep on this list. So it's really hard for me.
Dude, I got 8 songs written down.
Oh, dude, I went ham.
How many are off the board already?
My lunchtime in between classes today, I was just thinking about songs. All right, so I'm gonna go a little bit out the box. I'm waiting for my wife to go back up the steps because she's trying to cheat and hear stuff before she listens to the podcast, and I ain't giving away nothing for free.
Yeah, Megan was like, "What are you gonna pick?" I said, "You gotta listen."
Yeah, I ain't giving away nothing for free. So, with that being said, I'm gonna do all right. I'm gonna get before I get a little crazy. I'll do one more safe pick. I'm gonna say "Poison" by Belle Biv DeVoe. I'm gonna go Poison Belle Biv.
And the crowd goes mild.
You know what? What do you mean?
I will tell you this. I personally hate that song.
Really?
I don't like that song at all. Yeah.
Oh my! I love that song.
I don't like it either. I respect that it should be probably somewhere on these lists. I wouldn't have drafted it though.
I don't think it should be in the top 15 if we end up doing 5 rounds. There's no way.
No, I think you're shortchanging that one. But that's okay with everybody's opinion.
Back it up. What? I mean,
I think that's one of those kind of songs. Same thing. When you put it on in a party or karaoke, it's driving me out of my. Everybody goes nuts. Like everybody feels that.
Dude, when I lived in Conchi and I went to the Great American Pub, they used to play the same mix CD every weekend, and that was the first song. That was the first song on, and it made me hate it.
See, there you go. So you got PTSD from it. That's
I do a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing. No, that was.
There's this also. I think. I mean, look, that's early '90s. I just think that there's better hip hop songs in the '90s that you could put on there.
I think that was. I think 91. I think it was, if I remember correctly. 91, 92, something like that. I think so too.
Yeah.
But I got plenty in the chamber, dog. I got more.
But guess what? The chamber's going to run dry because we're going to run out of rounds. You're going to be click, click, click. Nothing's going to be coming out. I got back. All right, I got next. I still have so many, but these are songs that should not have been skipped at this point. So my next song is Alanis Morissette, Ironic.
All right, I got
it. Man, I just was looking her up.
That's an all-time 90s song.
But here's the thing. I agree with Morissette, but I don't know if that's the right song on that album.
It's not You Ought to Know.
No, I don't know, man. I debated that too.
In my pocket.
No, man. Ironic.
No.
Listen, I don't know. Like, I don't know the numbers. Like I said, I didn't do much research.
Okay, like
on the charts.
Ironic's my personal favorite. I thought I was just looking at that list of that CD and trying to pick out which song I wanted to go with.
That's an all-time album too.
Everybody had that CD.
That's actually, in
Jagged
my
Little
opinion, probably top 3 greatest debut albums,
Yeah.
at least of our generation. I don't know about all time, but at least in the last 30 years.
And that's a one-hit wonder album. Like, she stunk after that.
Yeah, but she still had other stuff. But yeah, she did.
No, she didn't though. She had the song on the Armageddon soundtrack, Uninvited.
That was that was
Yo.
City of Angels.
City of Angels.
Yeah.
Was it City of Angels?
Yeah, it was City of Angels. It wasn't Armageddon.
And then she had that weird, it ended her career, that weird song, Thank You, where she was naked.
Oh, the naked one?
Yeah, that ended her career.
You know what's messed up? She did that, but then D'Angelo did the joint when he was naked, and that made his career.
What about her diss track on David Coulier?
What'd you say, Seltzer?
What about the diss track on David Coulier?
Yeah, you want to know.
Oh, that's you. Yeah.
And she also dated Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds.
Probably Reynolds. Reynolds is Canadian, isn't he?
Yeah, so Ryan Reynolds. She had dated Ryan Reynolds also.
So I'm sure you two know as music guys, but for those of you who don't know, the crazy thing about Ironic is the song's called Ironic, but nothing in the song is actually ironic.
It's just all
I don't know if that's
sucked.
the genius of it or she was that dumb and she didn't know.
Yeah,
I think that's a wives' tale. I think some of them are ironic.
Bro, Rain on Your Wedding Day is not ironic.
I said some of them. I think some of them are ironic, though.
Eh.
But it could have been to its brilliance because she says, "Isn't it ironic, don't you think?" Knowing that it really isn't. So she wanted to see if we knew that or not.
That's what I'm saying. It's ironic that she called a song ironic that's not ironic.
Oh, yeah, a little
I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, I need an update on how many rounds you think we're going to get out of this before I make my next pick.
I think we go 5 rounds and then we rattle off some honorable mentions.
Man, that's hard to do 5 in this.
That's really hard.
Then we can just rattle some off. Like if the people are going to vote, it's got to be compact. We can't have a list.
I'm gonna go with my gut then. This is a song that some people might hate, and I might lose the vote because of this. But guess what? I don't care. Because this is a song that embodies the 90s. And that's Hootie and the Blowfish. I only want to be with you.
I got it on I was debating that.
This is the song that really encapsulated the whole type of singing that happened for like a good 5-year stretch. This song put them on the map. That album had nothing but hits, and Darius Rucker made himself a household name. To this day, that dude is still touring because of that album, and mostly because of that song.
I love that song, but I feel like that about Poison the way I feel about that. It's just like, for me, it's like a top 15. I don't think it's.
I can't deny. No, I agree with Al. I think that's
great song. And I had it on my list at the very bottom, but I cut it off. I deleted it.
It's like a 90s. When I think of the 90s, that's like the soundtrack of the 90s.
Yeah, but I feel like, again, it comes down to the Morissette thing. Like, I feel like you could pick 3 or 4 songs off of that album. Hold My Hand is right up there. Time is probably the best song on that album, although it's not in the same league.
Time's a banger.
Popular-wise is the other one.
This whole thing's about to get nuts in a minute. All right. It's about to get
I got something that's going to cause controversy. My pick's going to cause a lot of controversy.
Is it me or you?
It's you.
All right. So I'm going to go with, again, just a reminder, not that it's one of my favorite songs, but I think it's played still to this day on commercials, and people that grew up in that era still think about it and can sing it verbatim all the time. And that is Love Fool by the Cardigans.
Yes. One of my favorite songs of all time. There was no way I was going to pick it for this, but I love that song.
Dude, it's such a 90s song.
Album name is First Band on the Moon. They're from Sweden, right?
Something like that.
Love that song.
Yeah, that's defiant. That's a 90s defiant record right there.
Good for you. Bravo.
I was between that and another one that I still might pick with the next round. I'm not sure yet.
Cancels out the Belle Biv DeVoe pick.
Oh, come.
So I'm up for 2 here, and I got 2 very, very controversial songs. The first one, I don't know if you necessarily consider it. It's a 90s song, but it's also a seasonal song.
Are you remember Mariah Carey?
You had Jingle Bells. You have Frosty the Snowman. But this song changed the game. And if you're putting together a 90s capsule, she opened the way for all future Christmas music when we were stuck dated in the past, and that's Mariah Carey. All I Want for Christmas Is You.
That's a great pick. I debated that too
So
on the
did I.
same line of thinking like I want to put that with the seasonal thing, so I don't want to put it with this, but I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, because there was a lag in Christmas music from like 70s stuff, and then nothing, and then she changed it again.
It was crazy. I don't know if you remember when it came out. The song, the video was a huge deal. Like this was still when MTV was making a massive deal out of like new videos and stuff, and she just hit the bullseye with this song.
It's got to be one of the most downloaded songs in the world.
Every Christmas, it's number one. It goes back to number one every Christmas.
She makes like I forget how many hundred, or I think they said she's grossed over 300 million just on royalties for that song alone. And she makes, I forget how many million a year just on royalties for that song.
I'm still not sick of it. If you've ever been to McGillin's, McGillin's in the city during Christmas time when they have all the decorations up and that song comes on at like midnight and everyone at the bar is singing it. Like it holds a special place in my heart. I love that song. I love that song.
All right. So my next one is going to be my wild card. May make or break me. But in the summer of 1995, there was I
love nostalgic stuff.
There was a phase that I don't want to use the word that's going to spoil the pick, but there was a phase that ran across the country.
Oh, I know you're
doing it.
I know what it is.
Yeah. It's Los Del Rios, it's the Macarena.
I thought about this.
It took over. And that sound for that summer, that was the song you did the dance to, you know, for you guys on YouTube. Even white people like me were rocking it out. And the Macarena was the hit, dude. So
the Macarena walked so the Dougie could run. And so, so this, the Gritty could run, like all those.
Or you could argue even the Electric Slide walked so the Macarena could run.
That's fair.
Was that 90 still with the Electric Slide, or was that 89?
I think I don't know the year.
The Electric Slide was the 80s.
Yeah,
it was the 80s.
There was a new Electric Slide that came out.
Right, that was kind of garbage though. The old John was the real one.
I was with the new Electric Slide. I used to do it.
I was an old school one with that.
Shout out St. Dennis.
So should I give my 5, or you want to recap when we're done?
No, keep going. Let we got to finish, don't we?
Okay, yeah. I didn't know if you wanted me. I'm done my 5, so I didn't know if you wanted me to. Go ahead. Guess you're up with your 5th.
All right, so I'm gonna say this is one that probably you might give me heat for, but it's one that if you go to this day, any game in America, in any sport in America, you're going to hear the drop in the beginning and know what it is when you hear that. You can finish it off.
Yes, you went so old school with these picks.
It's gonna make you sweat. CNC Music Factory.
Oh my! Like some of these songs, they're so 90s. Like you're hitting the nail on the head. But in my opinion, those songs just are so bad.
But that's fine. But it's
I think Macarena, so I can't really say much.
Like Jock Jams was a big deal in the 90s, and part of it was spawned from that song. That was a big song for what it was. Like
the 40 and 50-year-old demographic is going to love guest picks. I'm for the OGs.
I'm for the OGs, but they still play it like religiously at games. Like it's still around. They're still making.
When's the last time you heard CNC Music Factory played at a game? Guest?
Really? I've heard it still.
Oh my God, Temple's got to get some new music on the sound system.
I haven't told you in a minute. But no, I've heard it still. Even at the Sixers games, they play it sometime in the beginning.
That's awful.
All right, Al.
Favorite. They love it still.
How many you got, Al?
What was that? What pick was that?
That was your 5th.
5.
That was 5. All right.
Yeah.
Was it 5 or was that 3?
No, it was at least.
I got 5.
No, that was my 5th. You're right. You're right.
Okay. All right. Dude, I still got so many. I got 5 songs left on my list, but I'm going to take one that I think the fans are going to love. And it's the song, the hip hop song that got neglected here. While I agree that Mo Money Mo Problems is probably the one, if you're going to take one, this is a clear cut 2, if not 1. And it's Tupac Changes. You guys blew it.
That's an
you
L,
guys blew it. I see no changes. Like so many of us can just all those bars.
I got something else.
You don't put that of all Tupac songs?
Huh?
You gonna put
Changes
that of all
was
Tupac songs? You gonna put
Huge.
Changes?
Changes was huge.
I got something else above that for hip hop too.
Oh, you guys are wild
There's
right now.
no
Changes
way,
was,
dude.
That just
Changes
No
blew up
was
your
a
way.
draft.
game
That
changer
blew
when
up
it
your
came out.
draft. That was
You
the
guys are
Jacksonville
wild.
Jaguars
Dude,
of
he
your
had just
draft.
passed. He had just passed away. The video with all the pictures of him, dude.
No,
You
it
guys
was a
are
dope
wild.
song.
That
I love
was
the song.
huge.
I'm saying no for a time capsule status. I don't know,
Yes.
dude. That might be a
Yes.
Rager. That might be a Rager pick for you on that one.
Oh, you're wild.
Yeah.
You are wild right
Dude,
now.
there's
Jeff.
so many better Tupac
You're
songs.
just big CNC Music Factory.
You could have went California Love. You could have went like Dear Mama even before
No,
you went
dude.
Changes.
Not Dear Mama, but California Love ahead of Changes. I agree.
Changes was a game changer, dude. Changes was huge.
I'm gonna disagree with that one.
So let's go over our list. We'll go in draft order. So for me, I have Mo Money, Mo Problems, I Will Always Love You, Gangsta's Paradise, All I Want for Christmas Is You, and the Macarena.
That's
Talk about a breadth of genres.
Let's just post the songs and see if people can guess what the hell we were doing.
Yes,
I don't even know what this list could have been.
Yes, you have your 5.
I had Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On, Britney Spears, Hit Me Baby One More Time, Poison, Belle Biv DeVoe, Love Fool by the Cardigans, and Gonna Make You Sweat, Al's favorite, by CNC Music Factory. And by the way, whatever happened to songs having the subtitle in the parentheses? They don't do that anymore.
Well, yes. And also, how are you going to pick a song that most people don't even know the name of it? Because everybody thinks that song is called Everybody Dance.
Yeah, but they still know what I'm talking about. They still know that song like that.
At first, when you did the first one, I thought you were doing the Stone Cold theme music.
I think me and Al need to have a supplemental draft for a couple rounds.
All right. Well, I'll give you. I only have two or three left on mine. I'll give you those, and then you guys can rattle off what you have.
I only have a few on my honorable mentions.
Give your 5.
All right, my 5 were Smells Like Teen Spirit, I Want It That Way, Ironic, Only Want to Be With You, and Changes.
Dude,
Right,
Changes,
so
but that was a problem, dude. You had a dope list, and then you put that up at 5.
Dude, you're gonna see. You're gonna learn, guess.
I got 20 songs on here I put above Changes.
You're gonna learn, guess. White America loves Changes. You're gonna learn.
I'm gonna learn. I went to school exclusively with white people.
You're gonna be.
We tried to make we wanted to make Changes our graduation song in 8th grade in '99, and the teachers were not having it. In Catholic school, they were not having it. I ended up doing like I think we did the what was that weird song when they talked the whole time? The sunshine or the sunscreen song. Remember that?
Yeah.
I think there was something. I think we might have did that. I forget. Anybody that went to IHM in '99 and listened to this, right on Twitter or something what our song was. I forget.
Here are the 3 songs I had listed that didn't get drafted.
You want us to tell you if we had it on there too, or
Yeah, you can chime in however you want. So I had my number 2 hip hop song, or number 3 because I took Gangsta's Paradise. I had Juicy.
Yeah.
Above
Absolutely.
those.
100%.
I had as another ballad, if I had to go back, All My Life by KC and JoJo.
I hate
Just
that song.
absolutely fantastic.
It's 7th and 8th grade dance.
No, you're right. You're right. I just hate the song. But
That might be the best ballad to come out of an R&B of the R&B genre.
It's a great
of the
song.
90s.
And then my last one was kind of asterisk. I didn't know how I felt about it, but because it was more of a historical moment in the 90s. So, like, I don't know if the song resonates, but I had Candle in the Wind because of the Princess Diana thing.
I wouldn't put. First of all, I here's why that's wrong. Because
I know the original version.
yeah, I'd say it was originally from the '80s, and Elton John did the original also. And so I would put a little asterisk behind that.
Yeah, I wasn't sold on that, but again, for historical purposes, I put it in there.
What's a better set of bars than Close to Me Like My Mother, Close to Me Just Like My Father,
Dude.
Close to Me Like My Sister, Close to Me Like My Brother? Like, what's a better, like, that's a dope 4 bars right there.
It gives you goosebumps. Anyone that's our age, when
And the piano hits.
as soon as you hear the baby, the goosebumps immediately, dude. The lights just come down automatically.
Yeah, everybody's like, "Oh, hold up, where my man at?"
All right, why don't you guys have at it?
All right, so so I'm gonna go. How do you want to do that? You want to go shot for shot, or do you want to just go down the list?
Let's go shot. Let's go shot for shot. I don't have. I have like 7 more. I could name. I don't have a lot to say about them.
All right, so since we're done the draft, I'm just gonna go straight down the list as far as like I'll still do one for one with you, but I'm just gonna go straight down. It's not any specific order. So
just name them then. Just name them.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. So I have "What Is Love" by Hadaway.
Oh my god, dude! Another
What
terrible.
are you talking about?
Another terrible pick.
That song changed. That made the genre.
Yeah, no.
They still do the skit.
Dude, when you think about songs that embody the 90s, there are people that don't even know that song existed.
Oh my god.
That lived in the 90s.
They made a movie about it.
And the movie. The movie almost killed Will Ferrell's career before it started. It killed Chris Kattan's.
Well, it did kill Chris Kattan's career. Yeah, it did do that. How about "Get What You Give," the New Radicals?
Yeah. I considered that for half a second. It's not in the top 5, but I'm all right.
How about "Kiss Me" by Sixpence None the Richer?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
I knew you
like that. Was in like 20 different
every movie.
Wait, let me drop another one since I'm "Kiss from a Rose."
I was looking to get to that. That was on there. I also have "It's Corny," but they played it all the time in the 90s and still do. "She's So High" by Tal Bachman. Always played. Nothing But a G Thing. We didn't talk about that.
Yes, if you ranked the
Nothing But a G Thing. Come on, dog. Where are you going to go? Where you get Tal Bachman to and follow up with Dr. Dre, though?
I'll talk about. Oh my god! Thank God you weren't making my mix CDs back in high school, dude. I would have killed you. We would have never been friends.
So I got that Tal Bachman track 1, track 2 is Nothing But a G Thing.
Thank God it was Lahaj and not you.
Return of the Mac, Mark Morrison.
Wow, man.
Nah, good song. I'm with
what?
that.
Ow, seriously.
I'm really honestly just surprised at how like old 90s you went. Like you went 90 to 93.
That was like 95 Return of the Mac.
Sucked.
Dude, you better not have Snow Informer on your list.
No. But you know what? Real quick about that, ironically enough, that same moment when I was listening in the car when I got the idea for this, it was a countdown from 93, and that was number 1.
Yeah, that was huge.
I didn't make my list though. I'll Be Missing You. I'll Be Missing You.
Yeah, I looked at that.
This one is definitely, it probably got robbed not getting on either 3 of our lists. Believe by Cher.
No, dude.
That's a big one. That's still played all the time.
Where are you hanging out these days?
I'll be there for you by Rembrandt.
Holy yes, this is wild.
Yo, are you serious?
You got to save that for a best TV theme song draft.
I'll be there for you, dude. They made the video with the Friends cast.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You got to save that for a TV songs draft.
All right, fair enough. How about Interstate Love Song?
Yeah, great song, fantastic song.
Okay, so everyone agree there. So Interstate Love Song, Rough Riders Anthem.
Yeah, no arguments there.
All right, I'll Make Love to You, Boys to Men.
There needs to be a Boys to Men song.
Yeah, I was having trouble with which one to pick.
Yeah.
And I think that's all the ones that I had. Like I had some in addition to that, but we had already mentioned them. I'm cool with my list, cuz.
I got 2 more before you go on here. Sublime, Santeria.
Hate Sublime.
Yeah, but that deserves.
That's a song. Yeah. And Wonderwall by Oasis.
I have that on my list. That should have been top 15. That was a gigantic song.
Yep.
Oasis was the biggest band in the world when that came
out. Yeah.
That should have been top 15. All right. So in no order, these are just like what I just wrote down on my list. Loser by Beck as a 90s song.
Yeah, I hear you.
Huge robbery here. Green Day, Basket Case.
Yeah.
That's 94. That was a big record.
Absolutely. Definitely. One of the best album covers, most iconic album.
That was Dookie, right?
I actually completely blanked on Green Day when we were doing this, but Green Day was huge.
They're one of my favorite bands of all time. The Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica.
So that was what my wife thought about that for one too. I didn't really vibe with it for the list.
But these are obviously I knew these weren't going to make the list.
Yeah.
My Own Worst Enemy by Lit. It's a fantastic 90s song.
Funny story about
that's actually a good one, yeah.
Funny story. So there's a guy that I used to play sports with, and we were talking about Sea Isle, and he was talking about how much he hates it, and he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "all the bands," he's like, "all they do is play the same song." I'm like, "What song?" He's like, "Sleeping with my clothes on."
Dude, if you haven't belted that song out at 2 a.m. at a bar, man, you ain't living. That's a great song to just scream.
What about Seal My Sunshine?
I was gonna say that to open as a joke.
Possibly my favorite song of all time.
Len,
No hyperbole. I love that song.
about
I love
LFO,
that song.
Summer Girls.
No, that's not that you can't.
That's a lyrical masterpiece.
I'm just thinking off the top. We had what about Nookie?
Nookie. That's up there.
Did it all for the Nookie.
I got Fastball the Way.
Oh God, I hated that.
Great
Anything
song.
from Fastball or Smash Mouth, I immediately dismissed. Still did
Like
dude,
those bands came on big in like the late '90s, like the not Goo Goo Dolls.
Iris was under consideration for me.
Yeah, that should have been I could have been top 15.
Yeah, that was on the
Matchbox
huge.
20s and the God, I can't
Yeah.
believe I'm drawing. a
Matchbox
blank.
20 was awesome. Rob
No, I'm
Thomas
saying that style of music came on big in
Yeah.
the late '90s.
That's
those
another,
type of
like,
bands.
3 a.m. is another song that wouldn't be released now. If you listen to the
Yeah.
lyrics, there's no way that'd be a single.
Another so to bring him up for a third time today, Diversa, a favorite of his was Bent. Can
Yeah,
you
Bent.
help me? I'm bent.
Um, I forgot about
That's
that.
all right.
Wait, so guest, Fastball, the better song on that album was Out of My Head,
Yeah.
which got covered not too long ago.
Yeah.
So I have another song here, Save Tonight by Eagle Eye Cherry.
Oh God.
Which
Yeah, that was.
wait a minute. Did you know that that's not the name of the band? That's the name of the guy.
Yeah, that's his name. He was Native American or something.
I
wasn't
did
he?
not know that.
His
Yeah.
name is Eagle Eye Cherry. He's the son of Don Cherry.
Yeah. Yeah, Don, what's your son's name? Oh, we named him Eagle Eye.
I only got two more here. Jump Around, House of Pain,
Also considered. Yep.
massive, and Bittersweet Symphony.
Oh, I love that song. That's a L on me for not putting that. That's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
Just thinking real quick while we've been doing this, two that we absolutely dropped the ball on, all of us. Speaking of Rob Thomas, the song with Santana, Smooth.
That may have been 2000s.
Yeah,
I think it
that
was
was close to
99.
99, 2000. I wasn't sure.
I'm positive we were in high school. I mean, it could have been 99. I'll look it up.
The other
I'm
thing
pretty
was
sure. I'm pretty sure it was 99, but
the other one was
You're right.
Mambo
99.
number 5.
yo, I thought about that, and
Yeah,
I thought
Lou
about
Bega.
I thought about the Scat Man.
Blue.
All right,
We could
I'm
do the
pretty
Blue
sure-
joint. The who sung Blue? Who was the one?
Eiffel 65.
Eiffel
Yeah.
65. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, the 90s were awesome. I want to go back.
All right, so Al, you're gonna post our rosters on Twitter.
I guess
I would wait until the segments are out and the people have listened to it, so they understand what we're talking about.
That John's going to conveniently cut off after that before that changes pick can get typed out.
No, dude, I stand by that pick. You're
Yeah,
gonna be
that
stunned. You're
was
gonna be
shameful.
stunned.
But
Man,
I hope you guys all enjoyed the change of pace there as we decided to mix it up with a little music segment. We're gonna have to talk next week if we're gonna put out an episode for Thanksgiving, but we'll keep you updated on our Twitter page on what our plans are. If we don't, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving and a safe holiday, and we will get back with you soon. And in the honor of all the music, let's drop that beat.